5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 meeting of the Longmeadow Select Board. This is Select Board Chair Josh Levine. I will be confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Zwerko.
Here.
Beneath Hemabathy.
Here.
Andrew Lamb.
Here.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lynn Simmons. She is here. Peggy Sheldon.
Here.
This open meeting of the Longmeadow Select Board is convened in person and via Zoom webinar as posted on the agenda and town's website identifying how the public may join. There is no chat or Q&A function. All of the materials for this meeting are available on the agenda posted on longmeadowma.gov. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. This meeting will feature resident comment. For residents attending the meeting in person, please raise your hand when we get to the comment section of the meeting and I will call on you to approach the microphone. For residents participating in the meeting via Zoom webinar format, please use the raise a hand icon at the bottom of the screen. The meeting moderator will promote you to panelist, unmute you, and give you permission to speak. If you join the webinar by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute, unmute. Residents who wish to speak will identify their names and addresses only. Each individual is afforded 3 minutes for comments. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. If anyone in attendance is recording this meeting, please announce yourself now. Seeing none, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whoa.
Why'd you do that?
Starting out with announcements. Citizen of the Year nominations. Nomination forms for Citizen of the Year awards are now available and should be submitted by Friday, April 10th, 2026. The awards are presented yearly at the annual town meeting. Citizens are encouraged to submit award nominations for a citizen, community organization, and/or group who deserve recognition for performing a service or act beyond what is normally expected in service to the town and community. For additional information on award criteria and to submit a nomination, please visit longmeadowma.gov/civic alerts. Community Preservation Committee Spring Application Cycle. The Community Preservation Committee will now be accepting applications. Sorry, I lost mine. Will now be accepting applications to be submitted by April 7th, 2026 for possible consideration at the 2026 Fall Special Town Meeting. The application form and information about the Community Preservation Act process can be found on the Community Preservation Committee page at longmeadowma.gov. Longmeadow Earth Day Cleanup. The Earth Day Cleanup event, sponsored by the Energy and Sustainability Committee and Recycling Commission, will be held on Saturday, April 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For additional information and to sign up to volunteer, please visit longmeadowma.gov/Earth Day. Free Paper Shredding Event. A free paper shredding event will be held on Saturday, April 25th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Longmeadow High School parking lot. More information on the event can be found at longmeadowma.gov. Okay. Move on to resident comments.
Tom Shea, 81 Green Meadow Drive. Concerning the water and sewer, substantially better process this year. Ian and Lisa did a nice job. I agree with option 3 to be fully funded operation and maintenance. The DPW did a very good presentation to justify that. Definitely in favor of increasing the fixed fee portion as detailed in my email to you. I think the water and retained earnings balance has grown a little too quickly. Could maybe take those back a half, but whatever. For next year, you've got a good base, but you need to calculate the fixed charges, roughly 50% of overall charges, and decide how to recover those as a percentage through fixed charges. Otherwise, the increments are arbitrary. Quarterly review by Ian and Lisa is a great idea. Fiber. Good to see Ian has produced a debt schedule allowed by Mass General Law since the 2 previous ones by Fiber Spring were not allowed. There is no financial model. Need a 20-year source and use, need assumptions, and many other things. There has been no involvement of Finance Committee. When will a public information session be scheduled? The original model, or the latest model by Fiber Spring, was minimal at best. What will the impact be on Long Meadow's debt ratings? S&P has already said Long Meadow has too much debt for its current rating. Corporate governance. How is this going on the warrant? Mass General Law says fiber must be done through an MLP. Select Board can be the MLP. The Select Board cannot be the MLP until there's a charter change. An MLP is a separate and distinct entity from the town. Lack of disclosure. August 2025, South Hadley Gas and Electric said that we have submitted poll applications, but there is another company ahead of us that will push up our approval process back by 6 months. The other party's territory and ours may or may not overlap. This is very concerning and never disclosed. The pushback can be longer than 6 months if, I assume it's Gateway, makes make-ready payments, essentially a block while being reviewed, and then a priority construction period. November town meeting for funding was also in Fiber Springs minutes. I don't know why that didn't happen. Status of Gateway. What is the status? There's been conversations last July, which you heard about at a meeting last February. Basically, at the end of the day, this thing is not ripe for a warrant. There needs to be a full financial review and a 20-year model. How many years of negative cash flow are there? Is the $491,000 owed back to Long Meadow in the model? Because I've been told that's up to debate. It just doesn't work. And if you put that on the warrant, I don't think you're doing it properly. I didn't even take my full time. That's how bad it is.
Okay, we'll move on to, anybody online? No? No hands up, okay. Moving on to kudos and plaudits. Staff recognition. On March 11th, 2026, the trial for defendant Salif Aldin Fauzi concluded. If you recall, on April 14th, 2024, Fauzi threatened the Jewish population on social media while posing with a firearm in front of the JCC on Converse Street. Due to the diligence of the Long Meadow Police Department, the incident was investigated and Fauzi was taken into custody less than an hour after being identified. Fauzi was ultimately charged with multiple offenses, including hate crimes, and last week was sentenced to 2.5 years in the House of Correction. He will then be placed on 5 years probation, and he must stay 500 yards away from the JCC and yeshiva. We want to take a moment to recognize the hard work that contributed to this case. While involvement varied, each of the LPD officers involved contributed to the overall success of the case. Incidents of this nature have a significant impact on our community, and their efforts are very much appreciated and reflect well on the department. Council on Aging, Meals on Wheels, and Fire and Police Departments. We would like to recognize the outstanding efforts of Cecilia Roslyn Gadelhak, Adult Center Outreach Coordinator, Meals on Wheels volunteers, the Long Meadow Police and Fire Department for their recent coordinated wellness check on a local senior. Thanks to their collaboration, the team identified a senior in urgent need of services, and their timely intervention likely had a significant impact on this individual's well-being. According to LPD and LFD personnel on the scene, the senior resident likely would have faced dire consequences had Cecilia not reached out to coordinate the check-in. Their dedication, teamwork, and compassion exemplify the very best of our community services and show the meaningful difference that can be achieved when multiple departments and volunteers work together. Lynn, thank you to you and Mike for putting that report together. That's great. Any other kudos and plaudits before we move on? Okay. Any select board comments otherwise? Go ahead, Vinny.
Thank you. Just to respond to a couple of things that Mr. Shea just asked about. What's funny? I don't understand. Okay. So just a couple of things to respond to. So I think a lot of this we're going to respond to just when we talk about the warrant article as well as when we talk about the fiber financing. But two things I just want to respond to. The corporate governance comments, this has been explained to Mr. Shea over email multiple times. This is just a basic legal principle that state statute supersedes town charters and bylaws. It wouldn't make sense if a town charter could pass a law that was in violation of the state statute. That just doesn't make any sense that towns could then create laws that could violate state laws. What the state statute says is that the select board or an MLP board is in charge of the municipal light plant. The select board is the MLP board currently. The reason why we're having a charter change is because the state statute allows towns to choose how they want to populate the MLP board. And so that's why we have asked the state legislature for permission to amend our town charter so that we can appoint members to a municipal light plant board and have them populate the board. So this is just basic. I think, you can ask any attorney that you know in your life. These are just basic legal principles. The second part about Fiber Spring having something in their meeting minutes about, or Shell having something in their meeting minutes about a November special town meeting vote. I mean, that's maybe what they thought would happen. I'm not sure. I don't know why it was in their meeting minutes. I don't know what, I didn't attend the meeting. And so that has nothing that really is relevant to us. We never put that on our special town meeting. And I think a project of this size, it'd be inappropriate to put it on a special town meeting. And so I think it's being done correctly to have it at our next annual town meeting after, design and engineering has been completed. So the rest of it, we'll answer in due course.
All right, thank you, Vineeth. Anybody else? Shelley? Okay, nothing from me today.
Me?
Oh, Dan, I'm sorry.
no, no.
Oh, your hand was behind Vineeth's head.
Yeah, I just wanted to, actually, Shelley's husband, I wanted to congratulate Damian DeWolf for completing the FBI National Academy class. This is a very intensive 10-week intensive training for national and international law enforcement leaders. I'm sure Shelley is relieved to have her husband back home now. I just wanted to congratulate Damian for his completion.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that, and I gotta make sure Damien's watching so he sees the shout out too, so thank you.
Okay, great. Moving on, we have a board and committee appointments. We have 3 that we interviewed at our last meeting. Do we have a motion?
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
you go. Fire away.
I'll move to appoint Ethan Kendrick to a 1-year associate non-voting term expiring June 30th, 2027 on the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Any further discussion? Peggy, we'll have to do everything by roll vote.
Sorry.
tonight.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
Yes,
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Vineeth Hamabathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes.
Okay, and I will move to appoint Matthew Delson to the DEI Advisory Group for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2029.
Second.
Anything further?
Yeah, just real quick, I meant to speak up last time. I just thought that his testimony was very, courageous, and we get to have a lot of folks in front of us that want to serve on different committees, and I was really touched by his life experience and just courage to step up and serve the town. And I did mean to say a couple words last time, but I think we all probably felt the same from that. So thank you.
Well said, Dan. Thank you. Peggy?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
yes,
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Vineeth Hamabathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes.
And I'll vote to appoint Gary Gay to the Historic District Commission for a 3-year alternate term expiring June 30th, 2029.
Second.
Anything further on? Okay, go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
yes,
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Vineeth Hamabathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes. And then we have a letter from Concom, and this is not something I've ever dealt with, so if you could go ahead, Lynn.
Yep. As you'll see in the letter, there's 2 members. One is a associate member and the other is a full member. There's been some scheduling conflicts, and the associate member has actually been the one attending the majority of the meetings, whereas the full member has actually not been there as often as I think he probably intended when he first applied. And so between the chair and those two members, there's been discussion about swapping their appointment, and both were agreeable. It would work better for the Conservation Commission and give them a full voting member that's able to attend all their meetings. So it's just a reassignment of terms.
Okay, and so that's, I guess it's not out of the course of what we can do. It's within our power to do that. We
Correct.
don't have to interview, so
Yep.
if everyone's comfortable with that, and I think that makes a lot of sense, we can go ahead with the motion. Or do we need two motions?
No, just one.
Okay.
It's fine.
So I will move to reassign Leah Farr to the, so she's going to be moved to associate,
No, full-time.
full-time member, and then Richard McCullough to associate member, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I will move to reappoint Leah Farr to a full-time member and reappoint Richard McCullough to an associate member.
Second.
All right, anything further on that? And those will expire 2028?
I believe so.
Okay. Great. Go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Denise Marmaduke,
Yes.
Aaron Julian,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes. Okay, and then moving on to presentations. First up, we have the fiscal year 2027 capital improvement plan.
Okay, that was quick. Thank you. I don't have a formal slide deck for you tonight, at least on this. I do on the budget next. So your capital plan, again, this year is going to be presented by me. We're pending a charter change that's in its third reading in the Senate, so hopefully that makes its way through, and then you'll have a new constituted capital planning committee and a process that will coincide next year. So attached to your agenda is my recommended FY27 capital plan. It was revised from what was originally sent to the Capital Planning Committee in January, and the revision relates to change to balance the FY27 budget. So I'll go back to FY26 to have this make a little more sense. In FY26, we had a budget shortfall, and in order to balance the budget, we reduced the capital plan and changed how we were funding two projects. They were going to be borrowing projects with the debt service paid for out of the ongoing capital line item. And so when we started building the FY27 budget, we had the hole from FY26 to fill if we wanted to meet the full capital planning policy, which was 3% of general fund revenue, which was about $2.3 million. As the budget came further into focus, we realized that it would not be possible to present you a balanced budget without the use of reserves while meeting that increase in capital. And so tonight, what you have is essentially a level-funded capital plan from FY26 numbers, 1.556 million. And I can go through the list of projects with you and explain, how I ranked them and how I assigned dollar amounts to some of them that were not necessarily the full ask of the department.
Thanks, Lynn. I have a question first on the sidewalk replacement, which is something we always like to throw extra money at when we can. So that's down from the request. About how many miles or feet of sidewalk will that cover, the 190?
Good question. It depends on the extent of what the sidewalk repair is. If it's just a resurfacing or a curb cut, not a curb cut, I'm sorry, a curb stop ramp, stop bar, things like that. We do also have the DPW director here tonight too, so if you wanted specificity on how far that would go, he might be able to do that off the top of his head.
I guess, well, my follow-up question, I guess the better question is, are there any areas in town where this is specifically planned to be used for?
Sean Van Dusen, DPW.
Director. Yeah, actually, the section of Forest Glen is one that pops out. We're not going to be able to get that covered by the current TIP project, so we're going to allocate funds to finish that kind of area as a whole. But we have a significant backlogs of sidewalks. I can give you a big list I have. I actually went over it with Tim today, so I can follow up and give you a list of the sidewalks that are backlogged and an idea about what we're going to be doing in the future.
Okay, I think, yeah, if we can see how big the backlog is, and if we need to allocate more, which, if there is more, it'd be good. All right, thanks, Sean. And then obviously, as always, there's a lot of requests that we couldn't fulfill.
Yep.
Was there anything that was a late cut that we're going to try to get next time around?
One of the ones that you'll see on here was for the center school parking lot. This was one that we did want to address, but with the upcoming work that's about to take place there for the roof replacement and windows, this was one that we felt like we could defer, but this is one that we do want to get done in the next couple of years. And some other ones, I mean, certainly the need greatly outweighs what we have available for funds. You've probably remembered from last fiscal year capital plan that the police department was on there as well for needing exterior work. There is a design that's in process, and that is really going to dictate the extent of what we can do there. I am also looking for legislative help with some funding there, and potentially making an ask of the capital stabilization at the fall town meeting once we know really what's available to us for funding and how far we want to go with the work that's needed.
Thank you. And then my last question before we move on to Andrew. Under IT, is that the cameras that we've pulled back on a couple times? I know that's smart cash, or sorry, free cash.
Yeah, so there's network equipment, projection equipment, and then the Long Meadow Police Department network enhancements. So all of that, the projection equipment's for the schools, network equipment is for both town and schools, and then the LPD network enhancements are for, obviously, the police department.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought, okay. I don't know why I thought there was.
We did do
the
cameras last year.
I thought they got pulled off. Did we?
We did, but
fund
we
them?
ended up funding them through free cash in the fall, or there was a late fall article for it.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew I was missing something. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
and then the last one I would just call out here is Center School, the front entrance architecture. This is to cover a portion of the project that needs to be addressed, but does not fall into the MSBA accelerated repair. It's not eligible. So while we're there, we're going to do this work.
Great. Thank you. And that, by architecture, that's like the cement at the bottom, where the drainage is?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Andrew, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a few things. Lynn was kind enough to kind of go over this very detailed fashion with me earlier. And I just wanted to say for those with interest, I appreciated the balanced budget this year. I know it was really difficult. And I see that you basically prioritized the things that you felt we needed to accomplish, which I think you have the greatest knowledge of, even more so than us. But some of the things that I had asked about for those with interest, you know, we're using free cash, some of the leftover free cash, to cover some of these. I assume that those are like your second-tier priorities. One was interesting where I questioned, what does Williams alternate field usage maintenance mean? It actually doesn't necessarily mean the field at Williams per se. It's the fact that there's fields around town that will be used more because of the construction at Williams, and it's kind of in anticipation of using those a great deal. So would it be fair to say that you use free cash essentially to do what you felt was the second-tier priorities?
Yes, maybe you're giving me a little more credit. But yeah, I guess that would make sense. And thank you for pointing that out about the Williams field maintenance, because as we get to the warrant article, you'll see that the actual article calls it something different, because this list is generated in the fall. So we have quite a bit of time between then, and I just didn't update the title on the list here, but you'll see the title updated in the warrant to better explain what it actually is. So it's to deal with the overuse of the other fields as a result of Williams coming offline, and then also start some work on some necessary redesign of some of those fields as a result of that overuse, including irrigation.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, you made, we're funding 1.5 million, but we're also using free cash to kind of do additional things to try to help,
Yep.
essentially, so.
Anything else? Do you want to talk about the 5-year plan now, or is that a separate?
Sure,
item
we
for you?
can. We can. It's really just it's mostly for, it's for everyone's knowledge, but I look at it more as keeping track of all of the assets and inventory that we have, facilities and infrastructure, so that we know it's on the horizon, that, you don't just buy it once and forget about it. You have to keep track of it. And as I've pointed out, last year, DPW has made strides in improving that 5-year capital plan. It's a sobering number to see, but I'd rather see it and know what's there than ignore it and pretend that it's not coming. And so we'll have to have some conversations about what is the priority and how we're going to tackle it. But I think that all in, collectively, between the work of the select board, my office, the departments, we've done a really good job prioritizing and going after different buckets of money. Because if we just relied on capital, it wouldn't get done. And I think it's been great that, it's a testament to the work you guys did last year with road resurfacing. You were able to tackle a lot in a very short amount of time. And the same goes with a lot of these other projects. We're looking at all sorts of different ways to fund things.
So as a 5-year plan, this isn't a plan of here's what we're going to do. We're keeping track of it, because if you look at the bottom line, it's what, $280 million. Something,
Yeah, and they're just best guess estimates
Yeah.
for the price. None of us know what, a window is going to cost in 5 years.
Right.
But it's really more for just tracking purposes.
So it's looking at what's out there, what we can pick off and plan for.
Yep.
Okay, great. I think that's a very useful exercise, so thank you. Anybody else?
And just kind of piggyback off of that, I think that's what also made the road paving project such a good one, because we were using $20, $25, $26 for paving that, went a lot further than if we'd waited for that same money, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Josh.
Go ahead, Dan. Thank you.
That's right. And Lynn, I really appreciate, and as well as Ian, I know I met with you last week. We spent a considerable amount of time going through the budget, so appreciate everything. One thing I wanted to talk about was the ambulance. I thought that was, and just kind of the work that the select board did with making sure we hired 2 firefighters to support that, and maybe you want to touch on that and how we have the 3%. We have to pay 3% for the billing as well, and how it's almost a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and I can also address it during the budget conversation, but for the purposes of this, I can talk about it in terms of the ambulance, the capital replacement. So the way it's been set up, which Ian and I inherited, is that we project what our ambulance receipts will be, and anything over that comes in higher, luckily it has, is what goes into the ambulance fund to build up to replace an ambulance when it's time to do that. So the ambulance fund has a balance of whatever amount it is right now. It's on one of my sheets here. And then we keep adding to it with those additional ambulance receipts that come in over what we projected in the budget.
And had we not had the 2 additional firefighters, EMT, with the raise in calls, we'd be missing out on opportunities to support individuals in the town and surrounding areas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a major uptick in ambulance revenue, and we're running 2 ambulances full-time now because we have those extra positions.
Which is exactly what Chief Rigney told us was going to happen.
Yep.
So kudos and plaudits to him.
Yep.
Okay.
So do you want me to just talk about process a little bit here?
Oh, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
normally this would be the capital planning committee presenting it to you. I'm presenting it to you. So now it eventually becomes your plan. You don't have to make any votes on it tonight. You can go deliberate, discuss, and then think about it. You come back on the 6th, and you can either adopt it as is or modify it. But ultimately, it goes into the budget or into the warrant as capital projects that get listed out below the budget.
I know that this is a time of year where you see a lot of us in your office, you Mike and Ian, so we appreciate you doing that and talk more on this. Anybody have anything they want to talk about on the capital plan before we move on? Okay, great. Let's go on to the town manager budget presentation.
Okay. So this I do have a formal presentation for. Are you able to put that on the screen?
You're driving, so you want to share?
I'm not in the Zoom, so if you just
Okay.
bring it up, what I emailed you.
This one?
No, it was a PowerPoint that I emailed you tonight, or a couple hours ago.
You sent it to me?
Mhm. Okay, so if you download it and then share it as a slideshow.
Absolutely. Share screen. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so it's, just have you, thank you. And I will advance slides, that's right. All right, let's see if this works. If I'm testing out the presenter being the one to,
You want to go to view?
yeah, where's,
You want to start the slide?
yeah, where is that? I
Top
can't
left
see
Come over.
it.
Top left.
Come over.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Here, I can't read it from here.
View?
That makes me feel better.
No, we're good, we're good. Yep, thank you. Okay, thank you. Your eyes are a lot younger than mine. Okay. All right, so, as you all know, we are here tonight to talk about the FY27 budget. Just a quick review, we started this budget process in December of '25 with a joint meeting here in this room with the Select Board, School Committee, and Finance Committee. At that time, we made some projections based on revenue, expenses, what we kind of thought at the time. Also at that time, I'll point out here at the bottom, we were preparing for a 3% general fund revenue policy goal for the capital plan. Unfortunately, as I just previously said, we were not able to meet that. So in December, we were projecting a budget deficit of $1.3 million. Okay, so some highlights before we get into the lowlights. The FY27 budget is balanced without the use of reserves, and I felt like it was really important to highlight that first because this was a really challenging budget. And you'll see as I go further on, we had to make some pretty serious decisions on projects that we really wanted to keep moving forward, but did have to put a pause on in order to not tap into those one-time funds. We are going to the full 2.5%, and the budget will be able to maintain current level service. So a breakdown. The way this really comes together is by looking at what our projected revenue increases are. We started getting much firmer numbers in late January when we got the governor's budget, so this is based on the governor's numbers. And then once we started getting in some of our non-negotiable costs, which primarily is health insurance, that is a big driver, and then retiree health insurance and our retirement contribution. So as you'll see, our revenue is projected to increase 2.5 million. And our non-negotiable expense increases, so again, employee health insurance, retiree health insurance, retirement contribution, the amount that we're giving to the schools, and the collective bargaining agreement increases total 2.9 million. So off the start, we did not have any surplus to work from. So we were looking at cuts to offices and where we could make this work. So this just summarizes a lot of what I said, but also includes the enterprise funds. I'll skim through this because you feel free, if I'm going too quick, let me know, but a lot of this you've already
Lynn,
received. Yes.
quick question. Online, the slides aren't moving for us, so we're not seeing any of the slides. We can hear you just fine, but the slides aren't following your,
Really? Sharing?
yeah.
Thank you. We'll see if we
No
can
problem.
troubleshoot that.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to reshare.
How about now, Shelley? Yes?
Yep, it's working now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
That's weird. Okay, so here we are just showing you the summary of expenses. This is just pulls directly from the budget documents, but it shows you where we were in the current fiscal year and then what we're projecting, and it shows the percent changes there on the right. It may look a little different than that slide of that breakdown that I was showing you, but you can see some of the decreases. General government and DPW, for example, those are not truly, those absorb the some of the collective bargaining, because those two departments have unions, as well as public safety. So those are not necessarily the true cut. It's based on the cut and the increase. I'm not explaining that correctly. But
Peggy, can you try to get that full screen again?
Sorry?
Can you try to get that to full screen on the left?
Not an option for that, Josh?
I think if you,
You might be able to drag it.
I have an option to go with one before
is
this.
it doing it off of this? Wait,
This is a
I might be
different
able to do it.
See the magnifying glass?
I cannot
in the
see.
Bottom left,
Can I find that?
Try that.
How do you get rid of that screen on the side?
bottom left.
He's driving.
Oh,
No.
yeah, you should be able to,
Not in the share option. Share settings. Post tools.
No, it's,
Is that you, Lynn?
No.
no, it must be it's not a Zoom option, it's a PowerPoint thing.
I can't read it.
I only have two options though.
Okay.
No, it's not a Zoom,
Just
that's a
hit
Zoom option. Go up to, can you go up and hit F11 up above in PowerPoint? No, it's not a Zoom option.
Josh?
Yeah, close that, go to, hit PowerPoint, click, not there, click on PowerPoint up above. And anywhere, and just hit F11.
No, not there.
No, that's a Zoom option, don't click up there. Click
Share
on,
settings is where it should be.
No.
No, just click on,
Click on the slide
itself. And then
and
press
then
F11.
try F11. Oh.
And then just press F11. The key, F11.
On your laptop, there's a F11 key at the top of the,
It's not marrying with the Zoom. Pressing F11.
can you read that from here?
Oh, sorry, it's
Start
F5.
slideshowing it?
Is that what?
F5. I don't know what's going on here. Can you hit F5? No, what the
Was
hell?
given F5, so that's not it.
Okay. We'll just try to hit share slide or show again. What is it? Screen recording?
Oh. F5 is a problem. Yeah. Whatever F5 was, it won't stop doing it. Yeah. See? You know what I mean?
Just minimize it. If it keeps loading, just minimize it. Josh, just minimize it. It'll keep popping up.
Minimize it. We're trying to get you, yeah. It wants something, wherever F5 was, F11, it's now doing that. so. Okay, so Zoom, slide presenter. Normal view? Outline view, slide zoom. Well, which side, what do you want, if you?
Just start slideshow. That'd be great.
Slideshow.
From beginning?
That's fine, I can click
Yeah.
through. Let's see if this works, Shelley. And is it, sharing still?
Control
Yes.
Alt Delete. Just restart.
We just switched to paper slides, I don't know. God, that made me feel old. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Is it switching slides for you, Shelley?
No?
Sorry, I couldn't get it off mute. No, it's not. It actually, from my view, it looks like the intro slide, but then I can see all of the presenter notes to the left-hand side of the screen.
Holy crap, okay.
It looks like it's in like note sharing mode versus like online presentation mode.
Andrew. Yeah. I'll make you a joke.
Yeah, I figured that out afterwards.
I was like, wait, did I not say it loud
I didn't
enough?
get it at first. Thanks. I had some memories from middle school along those lines, as the aggressor and the victim, frankly.
I remember somebody did that to another kid in my middle school, and like, they really hurt their coccyx.
Yeah.
Just,
God. Yeah.
Should we regale the town with our stupid things we did when we were young? Pass the time?
Shelley?
I think I'd get run out of town, that's for sure. Oh my God, I'm so dumb. I forgot we changed the order of the agenda. I was just looking at it, like, that was dumb. So where's the ninja class?
It's a Pioneer Athletics.
Which one's that?
So it's in East Long Meadow. Looks
Oh,
like
we got one there? Oh, okay.
And it's like a ninja warrior class.
Yeah. I did, I took my kids to, did their birthday party at the movement terrain. We had a ninja thing, it's in Ludlow. Yeah, it was fun, but I did it, and I messed up my hands for like 6 months. I gave myself a lip blister from trying to do like the salmon run. I'm too old for this stuff. It's fun, though. Those places are cool.
Yeah, yeah.
They're doing like the monkey bars and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
all that stuff, yeah, it's cool. And do like time trials.
Yeah. Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm gonna watch for them on the show.
There's we got some Farmington folks that are in that class.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Miller's.
Is that what's happening? Did you get the mouse?
Mike Michelle. Oh, Jacobs.
I'll think of
I
it.
think I named all the kids that age.
I'll think of it. Yeah, just said hi to her today. Yeah, anyways.
Okay.
It's fun.
Sorry, folks.
Okay, this should work. So, as I was saying, expense summary just, again, summarizes all the expenses that make up the budget. And you can go to the next slide, Peggy.
The slideshow.
From current slide, that second one on the left.
Someone?
Yep. Okay, thank you. Shelley, were you able, oh, go back one. Shelley, were you able to see that change to items of note?
No, it's still on the expense summary slide.
Okay, so Peggy, minimize your, hit escape, minimize your screen.
Hit escape, the button.
Both? No. PowerPoint. I have two screens up, that's why. You see what's happening? Bring them all up. PowerPoint. This is what you have to dance for a minute. Help me out. Too much. Okay, there you go.
You should be able to see that.
Can you see it,
Can you
Shelley?
see items of note now, Shelley? No?
No, it's still on the expense summary slide.
Now?
Yep,
Okay.
items of note, yep.
Okay, so this is going to just dive us into kind of how this came together and some of the issues that we are having. One of the actually the highlights that we're able to keep and implement into this budget is a change how we're going to upgrade DPW and fire department administrative vehicles. We're going to enter into a fleet leasing program. We did pilot this with 3 vehicles at the DPW currently, and so the 2 of them have been received, the 3rd one's on order. This is going to allow us to turn over those outdated vehicles at a much quicker rate and be less costly for us in the long run. Previously, we were only funding these vehicles through capital or free cash. And as we saw on the previous slides and as you heard in my last presentation, there just is not enough capital to make all of this stuff work. And the fleet was aging at a rate that we just could not support, and the cost of vehicles since really coming out of the pandemic has just increased so drastically that one truck is $100,000. One basic truck is $100,000, and that's just not sustainable. So we're really looking forward to this new way of managing the fleet, and it's been much easier to prepare for what we can expect for costs on an ongoing basis. The other thing that I'm happy we were able to do in this budget was implement the cost of living assessment for non-union staff. So historically, this has been funded through a separate article at town meeting and has generally not been applied until sometime into the fiscal year. It was a couple things. It was not transparent and it was not easy to navigate for us. So what we are doing is we built a COLA into the operating budgets for the departments that have non-union employees. The COLAs for union employees were already built in, so we weren't talking about a large amount of staff, but we did want to make this change. It's definitely more transparent, but it also shows that it allows us to prepare what a COLA is going to be and also for staff to know what it is that's coming up for the new fiscal year for them. And then, as we talked about already, the health insurance is really one of our biggest drivers. We projected in December a 7.5% increase, and it came in at 11.2%. So it was much higher than we initially projected. That really was not of any fault of ours. With that projection number, our health insurance increases have always been 7% or below. We have not had anything even close to 11.2%. We're certainly not alone in that. Many other communities across the Commonwealth are facing this same thing. We just were able to prolong how long we had before we had these double-digit increases. We do not have a general fund budget contribution towards OPEB. This is the first budget year that since I've been here that we have not had one in our operating budget. But it was a result of needing to balance the budget. And one thing also for transparency purposes, we have created a new emergency management division nested under the public safety division, and we have consolidated the WESCOM assessment into that line. Historically, the WESCOM assessment had been split between police and fire, and we've now combined those into the Westcom assessment line, so we can really track the cost of that going forward. And I did put a note in there, the last year that the town operated its own dispatch out of the out of the police department was fiscal 2019, and our total budget that year was $223,000. So we are above that, about $50,000, but this service that we are getting is heads above what we were able to provide before. Next slide.
On
Oh,
that last point, Lynn?
Yep.
Rebecca?
No, stay
if
here.
there- Is that in line with inflation, the 223 to 987?
No.
Okay, that's still above that. And one of the things that you and I talked about was there's plenty of room in Westcom if different communities want to come in, which would lower our assessment.
Yes.
And is that something that Westcom is actively trying to do?
Absolutely, yeah. Tours are happening all the time, conversations with other communities, especially as other communities' budgets get tighter. It's very financially advantageous to consider regionalization. As we benefited from the state 911 grant to regionalize, those other communities can do that too. We had 5 years of that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And you can go to the next slide, Peggy. It's not changing.
Not moving?
No.
Advancing. Yeah, here we go again. It's stuck. Do it this way. Same freeze. It's advancing on my screen, but not on the show, on you. See?
I don't want to blame Shelley for this, but I guess we would have had to do this anyway.
Sorry.
Might have to escape again and,
Resume slideshow. You there?
yep, nope, FY 27 challenges.
Slide
Okay.
8.
Yeah.
Slide 8?
Can we just
Okay.
leave it like, Shelley, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
All right, why don't we just leave it like this?
Yeah. All right, so there were obviously a lot of challenges, but I wanted to call out just a few here. The school department increase, I know they get a lot of flack sometimes for their massive budget. This 2.6% increase is the smallest that we've provided for since FY 2021. They have been very good partners in shouldering some of this. They also are fully aware that the next few budget years are going to be very tough and are willing to participate in any discussions that we have related to how we can kind of get through that together. Go back. So the second bullet there, in FY '26, we made significant investments into DPW. It was to the tune of about $700,000, and this was to try to further a lot of the work that had been done on reports and studies and, you know, calling out deferred maintenance and infrastructure needs. Unfortunately, a lot of that did have to get rolled back to balance for FY '27. We're still going to be able to maintain services. We just are not going to be looking to make improvements on some of those studies and reports that did detail, you know, significant needs. I will caution, though, that this means that in FY '28 and beyond, it's going to get tighter and tighter and harder to continue to say that we're going to maintain services. And this last bullet there, the cost for us to do business is just outpacing the amount of revenue that we collect to keep going. We usually talk about this in terms of our limited revenue sources. While costs grow, we just are unable to find new revenue and this isn't a Long Meadow problem, this is a municipality problem across the state. There are just so few revenue sources that don't go after the same people over and over that we just can't keep pace with the actual cost of running a business. And we're a municipality, but we still have employees and we still have overhead and we still have employee benefits that we have to pay, and those are going up at a rate that our revenue is not keeping pace with. Next slide, please. So some things that Ian and I talk about all the time that we're considering and we want to make you aware of as well. These numbers are based on the governor's budget. We are still thick in the state budget process, and there could be changes, hopefully towards a better direction for us, but we'll be watching it nonetheless. We're hoping that our unrestricted general government aid number comes in higher. We could have changes to Chapter 70, which generally has been an increase. We're at the minimum level right now, so hopefully it just goes up. We're also continually watching the federal landscape just to see what's going to happen with some federal grants that we do still have. We did lose that BRIC grant I told you about a while ago. It did sound like maybe there were some changes to that, and we maybe could see that funding, so we are still watching that. And things that are out of our control, including economic uncertainty, the upheaval that seems to be going on everywhere is generally not a good financial indicator for us and things. So we're watching that as well. And then ones that we've put on your radar before but continue to be here with us are our local receipts. So the MGM surrounding community status funding, that comes into us. It expires in 2031. 2030 something. It's coming up quicker than we think. It's about $300,000, a little bit more, and that will be revenue that just goes away. We have a public health excellence grant that is funded through FY27. They had previously committed funding through FY 2035. They are rolling that back now, and they are not committing to anything past FY27. So we'll be watching to see what happens there. And the pilot agreement payment that we were receiving from BayPath is still paused, and that's about $63,000. Okay. Next slide.
On the MGM money, can you remind us what we talked about anticipating that dropping out. Can you tell us how we're doing that?
So our goal had been to start reducing the budget by an amount that was slow over time, so that by the time we got there, we had weaned ourselves off of that.
But we can't, so we're going to be in a worse position. Frankly.
I mean, we could, but what are we willing to do?
Cut now, right.
Right. So just giving you the balance here of what we have for reserves, you'll see that the free cash amount, 1.58 million, that's what you'll see in the warrant discussion next about funding a lot of our projects out of that 1.5 million. Operating stabilization has 8.3 million in it. Peggy, you can go to the next slide. And these fund balances are also, you can find these on the overview document of the budget at the very, very bottom. But all of this will be posted to the town manager page as well. So this just tells you where we are. And don't be alarmed by that ambulance reserve of 0. We just bought a new ambulance, so that number should be 0. And I think the last slide just talks about the timeline here. So obviously tonight is the presentation. It's up to you whether you want to call in departments to have some budget hearings. And then April 6th is a joint meeting with Finance Committee, and you'll vote on the FY27 budget.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Ian, anything to add before we jump into questions?
Sure. Just to really piggyback on what Lynn talked about with future considerations. Massachusetts Municipal Association put out 2 reports back in the fall and winter talking about Perfect Storm, and these papers talked about how municipalities across the Commonwealth are really struggling when it comes to both generating new revenue, which Lynn talked about, but also state aid as a whole. If you look at the last 20 years, state aid has actually declined on an inflation basis when it comes to what communities are getting in terms of their dollars from the state. So it's something that our advocates are looking at and are pushing our state legislators to give us additional funds, because we know how important it is as local leaders to have funds available for us to take care of projects. So it is something that is on my radar, and as we look at future years, it's very important for us to kind of do better projections to figure out what our ultimate costs will be. I think with our financial forecast that we did in the fall, it's something that I'll look to do again this summer going into next budget year, so that we can get a better handle on where we will be at the start of the year, so we can better plan for what's to come.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, I'm gonna move on to, are you ready for a question? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. I know this is a really difficult budget. I really appreciated the cooperative spirit with the school committee that you mentioned as well. I generally support the budget, and the one thing that I had brought up with Lynn in a conversation was this idea that we don't put anything into OPEB. For those who don't know, OPEB is our contribution to the future commitments we make to our employees with their health insurance and things like that. It's obviously important to kind of fund this fund so that we'll have the money to do that. And all towns are kind of far behind, but in 2013, the select board made a policy that we put 25 basis points every year from the tax levy into this and increase it up to 2%. And this year, if we actually stuck with that policy, it would be over $600,000 we'd be putting in. So I talked to Lynn, and I honestly felt like it would be nice and good and prudent to make us almost a token or just a small contribution from free cash of maybe $50,000. We have $1.5 million of free cash that she could allocate. And she said she could make that happen, but I didn't know if any of my colleagues objected to something like that. But I thought that would be a good thing to show that we're not just entirely kicking the can down the road and not thinking about it. I didn't want this to be the only year we'd ever not done anything towards that.
Yeah, I think that is, well, just to, I think, re-qualify what you said, we can do it. We can ask them to do it, put it in our budget, but if we want to do it, it's up to us.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think that is, I think it is a good idea. I agree with you. We have a policy in place for it. It's, and Lynn sent us free cash allocations today, and so we can certainly discuss how we want to do that, because I think that it is a good idea to show that because we talk a lot about kicking the can down the road, and I don't think we should be guilty of it. So I think we have to figure out where our priorities are and where we're willing to pull back a little bit on that. But I thank you for bringing it up, because I do agree with you. Dan or Beneath, Shelley?
Sorry, yeah, I know I agree with you as well, Andrew. Obviously, this was a conversation that you and Lynn had. Is there something behind arriving at the $50,000 number, or?
It's totally arbitrary, and I felt that it was the small, obviously I would love for the number to be bigger. In an ideal world, it would be part of our budget, to be honest. After extensive conversations and thinking about what had to be sacrificed to get to where we are, I felt like the free cash it would be another warrant article, basically, like the other free cash items, but I felt that at least that would be the easiest and the least painful way of making this gesture, basically. And it could certainly be more, but I think Lynn literally went through all of the choices that she did with free cash with me, and obviously, as you can imagine, they're all very, valuable things. The numbers that she allocated them certainly could be moved around, and that's probably where the 50,000 or 100,000, whatever we direct her to do, would come from. But
and just on that, one of the difficulties in looking at our free cash for this is because we have a big number. Our biggest number on our free cash is a number could still move.
the snow and ice.
Yeah. DPW, let's say we got no more snow. I'm not going to wood. And when are we going to know how much our number is for this season?
It's 450,000 right now, I think.
Okay.
Over.
Well, 450,000.
Over the 100.
Right. Yeah, so we're pulling that in, that's fine. It has to be paid. But that is the number if we don't have anything else coming in.
We got a little bit of buffer, cases in the bill that hasn't come in yet, but we're
Okay. Well, that's good. Let's hope that nothing else happens, but you never know.
But to answer your question, Vineet, it was arbitrary.
Yeah. Right. And then, you know, I'm not recalling all the details of this, you know, perfectly, but I feel like at one of these years that we made an OPEB contribution using free cash at the special town meeting.
Yeah.
After we kind of got a better handle on free cash numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, might that be a better option than maybe doing it now for our annual town meeting?
We've done that quite a few times.
But it's because we pulled back on OPEB, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were filling in the gap.
I think it was like we made a little
Right,
bit
right.
of, but then like we were below what the policy suggested. We're not even pretending to approach it this time. And then to like make up a little bit of difference with the extra free cash.
Right, okay, yeah.
So Vineet, one of the reasons for choosing to do it in the fall is you allow yourself the ability to recertify free cash. So if there are additional funds that are available come 6:30, those are not allowed to be spent until free cash is certified in September-October timeframe. So that usually allows for a full year of free cash to be available versus using what is remaining after special town meeting in the fall of last year.
Mhm.
Tricky thing about free cash is there's not always free.
Correct.
There's not necessarily
Right.
free cash.
Right, that's the
There
risk.
should be.
Yeah.
but-
And what's important to note is the tighter we get with budgeting, the less free cash there will be.
Yep.
So that would, so that statement, it would make more sense for us to use free cash at our special town meeting as opposed to making it part of our budget right now, right?
So if you use free cash right now, you wouldn't be putting it in the budget unless you want to then you're changing, you can no longer say the budget is balanced without the use of reserves.
I wasn't suggesting it being part of the budget, to be
Okay.
honest. It was
Just
just
doing
to
a
use free
warrant article?
cash. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like along with her other half dozen things that she wants to do with free cash. It would be ideal for it to be in the budget, but it's difficult.
And there's nothing preventing you from doing it in the fall too, if we have a nice surplus of free cash again and.
We're adding more.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So we can, you sent us, I think that was today, you sent us your free cash suggested allocations today. So I think we can stew on that a little bit. We don't have to make a decision today. But there are a couple things on there that we can certainly look at. But otherwise, there's $1,600 left over, but everything else has been accounted for. Yeah, I think unless anyone wants to make a decision tonight, I think we can all stew on it a little bit.
I did have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And first, Andrew, thank you for bringing that up. Seeing that number is really mind-boggling, really, to see that. But in terms of the local receipts, I think it was like 388,000. Is there a trend in any type of receipt that we're receiving that's helping drive that number higher?
Motor vehicle excise has been a pretty healthy increase over the years. That's one we've been watching. Ambulance is definitely the biggest. We just got the February closeout and they've already met their goal for the entire fiscal year. So that's pretty substantial. We don't see that changing for '27, but we never budget to that full extent of what we think it's going to be. But we are gonna watch it very closely over the rest of this fiscal year and certainly all of next. In terms of other receipts, those are really, those are the biggest.
I almost fainted when I got the excise tax bill for my wife's car, so
Yeah.
if more people buy new cars, we'll be all right.
Yep.
All right, I had some line item questions that I think I know the answers to, but I think it'd be good to call out so people can get an idea if they're looking at this and watching the video down the road. A good exercise is usually to look in the column Z and find a big number and then ask what's going on there. So the assistant town manager, that went up quite a bit.
Yep.
Can you explain what happened there?
Yes. So as you may recall, we had a change in position in the office, and when that when Corinne left and before Mike joined, we restructured the position and really took away some of the duties. And we're kind of taking a year to see how it shook out. In doing so, realized that the work actually didn't go away, and if anything, taken on more of the true assistant town manager work as opposed to the planning and community development work. And it was not a true reflection of the job duties. And so in polling assistant town managers in the area, realized we were significantly below what the market was paying. And so this was a adjustment to reflect that, what the position really costs.
Okay. And speaking of adjustments, a lot of the salary adjustments on our side, if you look at them, they're between 4 and 5%.
Yes.
So why is that?
Yep, two reasons. One is that COLA that I talked about before. That was never built into the budget previously. So the number in prior year budgets would be lower because a COLA was never built in. Additionally, as you recall, a couple of years ago, we did a wage and classification study, which gave us all new wage scales, and almost all employees have steps eligible. So those are a 2.1% step increase. So that's why you see that number there.
So those are some of our non-negotiables.
Yeah, the step certainly. The COLA for non-union
Right.
is negotiable, but.
Okay, and then I'm looking on at line 335. There is a decrease in the street and traffic lights,
Yeah.
a massive decrease. And I thought if you could explain what that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, this is one we've been spending a lot of time looking at. So this relates to the fact that the streetlight account is no longer purchasing net metering credits that they cannot use. So this is a result of the amended net metering agreement that we have, that we now cash out those credits instead of applying them to accounts. So DPW is no longer paying for credits that they can't use. So that's showing that drastic reduction there. They're truly only paying for the electricity.
And where are the past credits?
The past credits right now are still in a check with Eversource. We need to have a conversation about whether we want to continue the fight with DOR. Legal counsel feels like we have a very strong argument. They have other communities taking that argument to DOR and to the Attorney General's office to create that revolving fund. Or do we want to put our energy into just taking the payment from Eversource, letting it flow to free cash, and then allocating it to projects that we see fit.
Yeah, I'm looking at, on page 8, starting on the 400 under DPW. There's a couple big reductions in, looks like maintenance articles, like fence and turf.
Yep. So turf, this is one of the ones that is helping balance the budget. Not because we don't have a need, but because for FY '27, we've reduced that amount to balance the budget, but the plan is to use the revenue that's been building in the cell tower account. So years ago, a town meeting voted to create a special revenue account for the Bliss Road cell tower, and we receive monthly rent payments essentially for the space. That money has not been touched. There's about $175,000 in there. It can only be used for grounds-related purchases or budgetary items. So they will be essentially supplanting the budget with that.
You also put fence repair as one of the things you use for free cash, right?
Yeah, so.
Supplementing this with
fence,
that.
fence repair and the playground were two items that were added in the FY '26 budget because they really should be annual operating expenses. The town owns a lot of fence, does need to be maintained. We have not been budgeting for it, except for FY '26. I've cut it out of '27 to balance us, but I've got one article to fund both of those with free cash at the, as you'll see in the warrant that we can discuss.
And that's an example of the goal to take care of what we have.
Yes, and then just one, the cut for the high school pool, 200,000, it looks like that. That's how it shows on the spreadsheet here, but really, if you remember, it was the influx of money at the fall town meeting to take care of the pool, to fix the high school pool, so it's not truly a reduction, it's just going back to what it was.
And then line 595, If anyone's looking at this, it'll jump out. There's a cut in veterans benefits. Could you explain that?
Yes, thank you. So we really took a hard line, looking through every single line of every person's budget and comparing the projected FY27 budget to the current year-to-date budget in '26 and what they turned back for '25 to see if there were any consistencies. And that line was only 33% spent, and we're more than halfway through the fiscal year. And so we started digging into that some more. And historically, that line has been turning back $15,000 to $20,000 a year. The budget, the benefits were kept there because it's really hard to predict if a veteran's going to move into town that needs services and qualifies for Chapter 115, or veterans that maybe were not previously needing benefits that already are in town now are needing benefits. And so it's hard to predict, so they've kept that buffer. We're not in that position anymore where we can keep significant buffers like that. And so we made the decision to cut it, and if a veteran comes in and does need something, we will not turn anyone away, but we'll figure out how to fund it.
Okay, thank you. And then last one, I was going through this, and if anyone wants to read spreadsheets, they can see like the 638 and down, those are our budget busters. Those are,
Yep.
it's over $1 million in increases just on 3 items. So it's very tough to balance a budget when you have that kind of increases. So nice work, and we all thank you. Anybody else have any specific questions on the budget?
I just had one question, and I'm not sure if this is even like my first time going through this process in this way. And Lynn, you and I talked a little earlier about this. Just hearing the challenges kind of balancing this budget this year, knowing that the coming years are probably going to be even more challenging for us. We talked a little bit about our strategy for the budgets in the years forward, and how do we go about kind of establishing that strategy so we can kind of best use, and I may get some of these budget items wrong, like the free cash, the stabilization fund, there's options there. And so how do we have that strategy and that plan to help us move into 2028, fiscal year 2029, when we know it's only going to get harder? I know we talked a little bit about that, but how do we best do that? So much like I think the select board has done prior to me getting there, has really had a plan to help us improve in certain spaces. How do we do that from a budgetary perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll answer it a couple ways. One is, I think we've collectively been kind of talking about that, not maybe as directly as what you're asking, but in terms of the update of the financial policies. I know Ian and I are really looking forward to the DLS training that we're going to go to, and we hope to bring you back some really robust and best practice-based policies. So I think that will help chart some of that course that we need to be on. But secondly, this budget has given me a lot of pause in terms of what are we going to do next year and the year after that. And it is much bigger of a conversation that needs to be had. And so I know I've talked with a lot of you about my idea to form a budget task force, and I am working on that, and I plan to bring you something more formal at an upcoming meeting to really kind of kick that off and launch it. I've seen it in other cities and towns when they are at the crossroads of a significant budget problem. You really need to bring more people together to figure out what are our core goals and what are we willing to cut, or what is absolutely not on the table to cut, and how do we come up with more money to fund it. But I think that we all need to be having those conversations, and the free cash and our stabilization fund need to be part of that conversation as well.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this before. Would you have the school committee or the school side of it involved in that?
Absolutely. I have had conversations with the superintendent and the business manager. They are happy to participate. They have to be at the table. They're our largest department. And they will also bring the ask of my ask to have school committee representatives there as well, not just school leadership. And then I will likely make that same ask of a select board member to participate, along with finance committee members and then general public.
Great.
Yeah, I love that idea, especially with the general public. I think, Lynn, you brought up a really great point. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, but just helping all of us understand what is our town's priorities and what are some things that we may be willing to pause on in difficult budget years, and then how do we plan to kind of deal with that. I love the idea of having that budget task force and spending a little more time on a strategy for the years forward. I think that can also help us just communicate with residents, helping them understand maybe why certain decisions were made, and then too, just thank you for putting all this documentation together. It was really helpful going through this the first time and seeing kind of how it differed from last year to this year, and where we're making changes. So I appreciate all the effort you and the departments did as well.
All right, great. So it looks like there's nothing else. So we'll be considering this again at our next meeting, and if anyone would like a department to appear, let me and Lynn know, and we can work on that on the agenda. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And then, Ian, anything else to add before we move on?
No.
You look really eager to. All right, we have 2 one-day liquor license applications.
All right, I will move to approve St. Mary's one-day liquor license application for April 11th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, anything further? Peggy?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Benita Mamathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes.
Thanks.
And I will move to approve the Long Meadow Adult Center one-day liquor license applications for April 2nd, 2026, and April 30th, 2026.
Second.
Anything further? All those in favor? I'm sorry, go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Benita Mamathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes. All right, moving on to, moving on to correspondence. There's a request from some residents of Glen Meadow, to be able to bring alcoholic beverages to the dinner table, which would be a violation of Glen Meadow's liquor license. Lynn, has this, I think I know the answer to this, but have we run this by town council at all?
We have not, but it's not, I mean, I can,
Well, I know it's not
but.
allowed, but I don't know. And there was a question that the residents should have been notified. Were they, I don't recall, what was the notification for residents? I presume they posted it.
Yeah, well, it was posted in terms of whether if they were next door and considered an abutter, they would have received a notification. But if they actually lived inside Glen Meadow, I don't know that they would have, I don't know what Glen Meadow did to inform their.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that this is, that some residents do not want that, and I wish we had heard from them, but I think we would have had people going both ways on that, so, but we should respond and explain the limits to the license on that. Then we have a request for a tree hearing, which will be coming up at a future meeting. Anybody else on correspondence? Okay. Moving on to town manager's report, I presume your budget presentation was in lieu of your report this week? Or do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh, I thought there was a report. Maybe it didn't get attached. I'll just defer to the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions on, anything for Lynn on any of the monthly reports? Okay, great. We have minutes to approve.
I will move to approve the March 9th, 2026 Select Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko,
Yes.
Benita Mamathy,
Yes.
Andrew Lamb,
Yes.
Josh Levine.
Yes. All right, moving on to moral business, water and sewer rate discussion. Ian, is this you?
Yes.
Great, go ahead.
Peggy, there should be a
I had it queued up.
PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm nervous.
So round 3 of our discussion. So
Time's a charm.
at the last water sewer rate discussion, the select board asked Lynn and myself to come up with some additional rates for the water enterprise system, kind of a 3A, 3B, 3C that looks at using more fixed rate revenue in terms of the two options available, which is our variable rate and our fixed rate. So what I returned to the board with, if you look at FY27 water proposals, is those 3 options. So comparing from FY26 to the 3 options in 27, you will see option 3A was the original option 3 proposed at the last meeting, which looks at a 4% variable increase in our rate and a 30% increase in our fixed rate. Option B is half of the increase in our variable rate and a 40% increase in our fixed rate. And the final option is our option 3C, which is keeping our variable rate flat and a 75% increase in the fixed rates. I'll call attention to the 6 WAT quarterly base charge at the bottom of the fixed rate options. This is something new for FY27, as this is one singular pipe, and Sean can correct me, which we have a connection with Springfield. This is the only pipe in town that requires this size pipe, and we did some comparative data to determine what that fixed cost should be, and we came up with a quarterly rate of $4,400 for that pipe.
Who pays that? Us or Springfield?
It's the one scenario where Springfield's our customer.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
So, looking at the revenue options on the right.
They agree to this?
Looking at the revenue options on the right, looks at the different consumption and fixed rates and how much revenue that generates. As I've explained in the past, we like to build in a cushion just to make sure that there are building in caveats for rate variability. So each of the different options has some wiggle room in case there are differences. Looking at the 3 options. Looking at the 3 options, these all include funding a retained earnings of $250,000, which was the original goal of the select board for the water options. Oh, okay. All right. Just a note for the board, the quarterly base charge for the 6 watt is showed at our annual versus our quarterly. So our quarterly would be the 1,100, just as a note. Moving on to the next slide, looking at our FY27 sewer proposal. So our sewer proposal did not change from our prior discussion. So the board has the ability to recommend a 12% decrease in our variable rate for FY26 to 27, with a coinciding 25% increase in our fixed rate for sewer. The revenue factors on the right side show a mix of consumption and fixed rates, including the $250,000 in retained earnings, as the board has as a goal, with an additional cushion built in for rate variability. Moving on to our stormwater proposal on the next slide. This is the first slide for the stormwater proposal, as we are still in the stage where the stormwater enterprise is subsidized by the general fund, so we present it as a balanced budget. You will see that there are 2 items in the estimated revenue, the tax subsidy and the stormwater fees. Within that, there is a % of the operating budget that covers the stormwater fees. That is represented by the tax subsidy. As you can see, over time, it increases in terms of how much is covered. So as we move towards 100% enterprise funding, stormwater fees will become a larger percentage of that total revenue. Each year, it increases approximately 4.11% as per the select board policy. The one equivalent residential unit increases from 974 to 1132. That includes 2% allowance for abatements, write-offs, and credits, as we have done historically with allowing for abatements and write-offs for the stormwater rates. As you can see in the bottom, how we calculate what we have for stormwater fees, we take our FY27 equivalent residential units times our billable units of 7,475 to get our total revenues generated. Moving on to the next slide, we look at our comparables. So looking at the water, this is comparing our low users to our average users to our high users for FY25, 26, and the 3 options proposed for FY27. As you can see, I'd like to highlight that if the board were to choose an option C, the low user would actually see an increase in their rates for FY27, more so than the average and high users, and that's simply because as we move towards more fixed rates, low users do not have low users are still using the same amount of usage, so their fixed rate makes up a larger percentage of their revenues or of their bill. In terms of the overall options, there really isn't that much of a difference in terms of option A through C. When you look at FY27, I was very curious myself to see this, as I wasn't sure if there would be some variability rate to rate, so I wanted to just call this out for the board. Moving on to sewer, we look to see that from a low, average, and high user, with the decrease in the variable rate for FY27, each of the different users will see a decrease in their rates accordingly. So this is something that we should be well received by the residents, as there's been a lot of work as to forecasting and projecting what the sewer rate has needed in terms of addressing our capital needs, as well as giving us the ability to take on more work in our operating funds. Finally, looking at the combined data for all rates, apologies for the colors, it just makes it easier to see. We look at our low, average, and high users again for FY25 through FY27. As I alluded to earlier, there really isn't that much of a difference in terms of the 3 options comparing our FY27's A through C. And finally, with all of that to be said, just as a note to the board, the motions that would be made tonight on the next slide take advantage or are affecting our April billing, which would be our Q1 billing. So all of these rates would be set for our Q1 through Q4 of FY27, instead of having the issue that we've had previously where we would be in Q1 setting rates for Q2 and not taking advantage of those new revenues for next year. So I really want to thank the board for being able to go through this process when we did, so that we can set the rates accordingly and look at next year.
All right, thank you, Ian. I want to thank you for putting this together. I think through the sessions, you now have a good way of presenting this that we can use going forward. It helps to visualize it and give us an idea of how we can create the revenue we need. So thank you. I think continuing to move towards higher portions of fixed rate is the way to go. And overall, I totally agree with you that from 2 years ago to last year was a big jump. We're not going to see as much of a jump this year, and people will be happy about that, especially with the sewer rates going down. I don't know how granular people will get, but I do think I'm in favor of option A, to give our lower users who might be people who are trying to be more cost conscious, to give them the ability to really be a master of their own destiny on keeping their bill low. And so the fixed rate will continue to go up, and we're gonna have to keep doing that. But we can kind of blunt the impact a bit by keeping the increase more on the the variable rates, while still increasing the fixed rates. So if anybody else would like to chime in, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so I was actually kind of thinking about it the other way of going with 3C, because I know that our goal has always been, and I know Dan was kind of the biggest proponent of this when we started talking about this a couple of years ago, was to move this fixed rate up, and and kind of seeing the price differentials where they are right now, it almost makes more sense to me to move that fixed rate to kind of where we want to end up with, in the long run. And so that's kind of how I was thinking about it, of just, if we're making these significant moves towards where we want to go, like, kind of why stop here, and let's take another significant step towards that.
I'm agnostic. I think we're raising the same amount of money in all three options. The rate was pretty much going to be the same. Maybe you should just choose the one in the middle since you beat one of the ones on the ends. I'm good either way.
Dan or Shelley?
I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot if you ask me, but I think we're getting what we've accomplished. My only other point was when we're looking at the motions, just in terms of the utility bill insert, but I think maybe we'll talk further about that. I'm curious what that would say.
Sure.
Because I think it's important for the residents to know, like, why we're on this path forward. So I think that's important. But yeah, to Vinny's point, and what we've said during the whole process is making sure that budgeting moving forward, we have a fixed rate that we know from a budget perspective that we can put it against our never-ending projects that we have, and we know and have a good idea of what type of dollars we're raising against the projects that we have in front of us. So I think we're in a much better place than we've been in the past, and I'm happy that we're no longer using funds to pay down the rate, and we see infrastructure which was crumbling previously and will continue if we don't address it. So I just want to thank everyone for their efforts on this.
So Dan, to your point about the utility bill inserts, these motions are kind of generic, just to hit the main points that both Lynn and myself need in terms of what the board needs to approve. If there are specific language or guidance for the utility bill that you want inserted, I would include that in the motion.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion, but before we get to that, Vinny, I'm certainly not saying I disagree with you in any way, because it is still a 30% increase, and we have been making significant jumps, and I think we all have the same goal, but just different ways of going about it. And thankfully this year, it is we're pretty
more modest
close. Yeah,
increase.
The three proposals that we have come down to out of the original three are not too far off. So nobody's, I think, it's not a large disagreement. Certainly don't feel that strongly about it. But since you feel so strongly, why don't you?
Oh, no, I don't feel strongly. I just
No, why don't
just
you
wanted to
move
say
it-
that that's how, when I was reviewing all this,
No,
We're not gonna have a duel?
but I don't know if Shelley has.
Oh, I don't see your picture anymore, so I didn't see if she had a hand up.
Huh.
Shelley, did you want to
Yeah.
speak?
I was leaning more towards option 3A, simply because of kind of increasing that fixed rate. I think we were just all maybe slightly in different positions, so I'm not sure where that leaves us from a motion, but I just wanted to share that I kind of was leaning towards the 3A option. If I'm interpreting that correctly, that we're increasing the fixed rate a little bit higher and it's lowering the variable rate. If I'm correct, right? That's the highest fixed rate increase.
Shelley, that
option?
would be
No,
option
that's
3C.
C.
Yeah.
So you would be 3C.
Got it. Okay, so that I flipped it.
Well, Shelley,
In
now
my
you,
head.
now you have to move in favor of option 3C.
Does she have to read all the numbers for the
No.
different? Okay.
No.
No, it's, so you can plug in the motion below with, I believe, 0 and 75.
Yep. And then the variable rate. that would be
I
perfect.
can
Oh.
make the motion. If, you know, Shelley's on Zoom, so it might be a little more difficult.
Wait, what motion? I'm
Oh, don't
sorry.
worry.
Oh, no, no,
It's
don't worry.
really
Vinny's
hard
about to
for me
make it.
Here on the line.
No, I can make the motion, Shelley.
Okay.
I'll move to set the fixed meter rate at a 75% increase and the variable rate at a 0% increase, which would make the water rate 6.49.
Second.
Anything further?
Just as a
Oh.
note, I just want to ask Lisa, when do these need to be effective as of?
It'll be effective as of April 1st usage, but it won't be until the bill in August.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing nothing further. Thank you for clarifying. Go ahead.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Is there a second?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, I wasn't unmuting. Yes.
Thanks. Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Benita Marquez?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
No. All right, so that passes. Thank you very much to everyone, Ian and the DPW team and everyone else involved.
You have to do the other ones.
We have to do the other ones.
We got
Oh,
a bunch
geez.
more here. All right.
I was so excited we got one through one.
All right, I'll move to set the fixed, I'll move to set the fixed meter rate for sewer at a 25% increase and the variable rate at a 12% decrease for sewer, which would make the sewer rate $4.55, including a residential summer 2-quarter 55-unit cap.
Second.
Any further? Shelley?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Keith Mafety?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
Yes. Too early for you to be losing my mind already.
I'll move to set the stormwater rate at $11.32 per equivalent residential unit with an annual rate of $135.81.
We have a second?
Second, sorry.
Anything further? Peggy?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Benita Mafety?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
Yes.
Okay, and I will move to apply the same discount used for stormwater to the water fixed meter rates and sewer fixed meter rates.
Second.
Anything further? All those in, go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Benita Mafety?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
Yes.
Okay, and I will move to approve the utility bill insert explaining the increases in fixed meter and variable rates.
Second.
Anything further? Peggy?
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Benita Mafety?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
Yes. And Lisa, when would this insert go in?
That'll be the May bill, so we can bring it to you, so you'll see it before that.
Okay, so right at the beginning of the heavy watering season. Although not judging what's going on outside. Okay, now can we move on, everyone?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Okay, and then next up, we're moving to municipal fiber project borrowing considerations.
That would be me again. I have a memo for the board as well as some debt schedules. I'll just go through the memo.
Yeah, please.
The select board has requested information from the finance director on the presentation of the municipal fiber project from FiberSpring. On January 5th, 2026, FiberSpring presented the select board a project summary and financial review of the build-out of town-owned fiber internet system. FiberSpring's presentation used a 30-year borrowing with total project costs of $27 million. Attached to this memo is a spreadsheet with different borrowing schedule options. These options are all based on a 20-year fixed term with an interest rate of 4%. It's important to note that the interest rates can vary if the town seeks short-term borrowings, as well as interest rates demanded by current economic conditions. The borrowing for this project is proposed as a debt exclusion. No estimated tax impacts have been prepared as part of this presentation. A debt exclusion would be done under Chapter 44, Section 8. Specifically, it reads, for establishing, purchasing, extending, or enlarging a municipally owned gas or electric light plant, community antenna television system, or in our case, telecommunications system for 20 years. General obligation bonds do not have the option for a balloon payment after 20 years, then refinancing to a 30-year term. If the town were to pursue this project, the overall borrowing would be impacted by the take rate. The take rate is based on the number of connected customers within the service compared to the overall service population. For example, the community has 5,000 households, 2,500 connected customers would be a 50% take rate. The more connected customers, the more the project is able to recover in costs and reduce future borrowings. If the project surpassed a 40% take rate, the town could see savings in the form of reduced borrowings in the future. With that being said, I'll highlight the spreadsheets that are attached. The first one is just a baseline for the board and residents to see. This is not an option that we would pursue, but just to see what the overall borrowing would be. At $27 million, at a 4% rate over 20 years, our total payments would start at $2.4 million and decrease over the life of the loan. The next 5 schedules look at the phasing of the different construction over a 5-year term, with the first one being a $6.4 million borrowing starting in 2028, interest rate of 4%. This would be about $578,700 in total payments, and moving along through the different phases, there are different borrowing requirements as presented by Fiber Springs for each subsequent fiscal year. Finally, the last page, page 8, looks at if the community determined to do the fiber hub first, the fiber hub being the initial station as well as the surrounding area. This would be a $6.5 million borrowing at a 4% interest rate, would give us a total payments of $585,000 in the first year, and then declining payments subsequently.
Yeah, I can jump in there. So, thank you, Ian, for presenting this. And I think, just to kind of provide context here to this memo, when Fiber Spring made their presentation, what they provided us was the model that they used when they financed their project to do 20-year borrowing with a 30-year amortization period. And the reason why they did it, they were able to do it that way is because they borrowed through MWIC and through their MLP. And so doing it that way, because this is a project that will obviously bring in revenue and bring in cash flow, it makes sense to do it that way because the cash flow that you start generating can end up taking care of that balloon payment or make a significant dent into that balloon payment, and then that keeps the burden on residents and taxpayers at a minimum. Because we can't borrow through, and we, I thank Ian for doing his due diligence and, meeting with MWIC and talking to them about this. It wasn't an option for us at this time to say to the people, to our residents that we can finance this through MWIC and borrowing in that way. And also, it's not something that fits into the budget. And so because of that, this has to be done through a debt exclusion. And I completely agree with, and Ian looked at this, our financial advisor looked at this, and me too with looking at the statute. I think the statute's pretty clear in saying that with a debt exclusion for this type of borrowing, it needs to be limited to 20 years. And so what you're looking at now is taking a look at the financial model that Fiber Spring presented, and which Ian has looked at, and he's looked at all the assumptions and everything. And just adjusting that amortization period from 30 years to 20 years, and then looking at what that brings us to. So, so to update it from 30 years down to 20 years, you're looking at a 40% take rate, being 8.7 million in terms of, property tax, debt exclusion, funds to close the gap. At a 50% take rate, it's 5.1 million, and at a 60% take rate, it's 3.3 million. So that range of how much this could cost our taxpayers is between 3.3 million to 8.7 million, depending on the take rate. And I think, with MWIC, which was an interesting conversation. So MWIC is an organization that that a lot of municipal light plants, if not all, utilize to borrow through. It provides you a lot of advantages in terms of, you know, I guess the efficiency and the support that they provide a town's financial team. They provide a pool loan program that towns can make use of. But the thing that is how the way that MWIC works is that the backstop is not property taxes. The backstop is energy ratepayers. So the difference that would be made up is through an increase in energy rates instead of you know, property tax increase. And most of these towns have their own energy you know, entities, so it makes sense for them to do it that way. We obviously don't have that. But what we do have is municipal aggregation, and you can actually do it through municipal aggregation. And right now, the numbers don't work for that to make sense because obviously there are not, there are much fewer people in town enrolled into municipal aggregation than there are in our whole tax base, and so you'd be putting more of a burden on a fewer number of homes. So it doesn't make sense at this point. What we have seen, though, is that our enrollment in municipal aggregation has been increasing since it rolled out. And what MWIC's financial folks told us was that the way that this works, it could make sense down the road if enough people sign up for municipal aggregation in our town, and if enough commercial businesses sign up, where the rates may make more sense for us to borrow through MWIC and, you know, using the energy rate payers as the backstop, as opposed to going through the debt exclusion. Now, the way that we are borrowing for fiber by doing 5 different borrowings, it gives us time to kind of take a look at this and adjust if we need to. So, you know, a couple of years down the road, it might make more, like if we get to our 3rd or 4th borrowing, it might make more sense for us to do it through MWIC than using the debt exclusion authorization. And so this is just something that we will have to monitor. Like the MLP will have to monitor, the finance director will have to monitor, bond counsel will have to monitor. And I think, you know, the charge for everyone would be, how can we do this with putting the lowest amount of, tax burden on our residents, and that should be the charge for this. So I think that's important to note. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the last kind of piece of information that we don't have definitive for our financial models is the make-ready costs. Fiber Spring obviously did design and engineering, so they went to every pole in Long Meadow. They took a look at the condition of the poles. They estimated what the make-ready cost would be, and the number that they used in their financial models was that it was an average cost of $2,000 per pole. And now they, are kind of erring, or I guess they're being very conservative with this because they don't want to, have it go the other way. But that's kind of the way that they approached it, was to say this is going to probably be about $2,000 per pole. If this has been a whole new world to kind of get a peek into, but the world of private utilities, I think after going through this experience and working with Eversource and everything, it just makes me even more, committed to the notion that we should be disentangling ourselves from these private utilities, because it is really like a black box and they kind of just do whatever they want and they don't feel any need to tell you anything. I think just today we're seeing, Eversource start this construction on Laurel Street right before our L project, even though they knew for years they needed to do it, and they knew for years that we were starting the L project, but they decided to wait until now to do it, right before we were starting it. And that's just kind of the experience it's been with these make-ready costs. So Fiber Spring has been on Eversource saying, we need to, can you move this along? Can you give us, can you process the applications? A few weeks ago, they get back to Fiber Spring and they say, somebody else has put in poll applications, and we forgot to ask them for checks. And so they have just been sitting on these pole applications, which, you know, they don't tell you anything, but of course, and I think it's Gateway Fiber. They put in these pole applications, didn't even ask them for their checks or payment for it, and they've just been sitting on it for who knows how long, which is just incredibly frustrating, because last year they told us that they would have make-ready costs for us by Q2. Now, when we met with Gateway Fiber last summer, because Gateway Fiber was completely unfamiliar with the public hearing process, which is just, you know, the routine process that utilities have to go through to get permission to use public right-of-ways. After we explained the process to them, we told them, you know, if you've got pole applications, go ahead and initiate public hearings. And what they said to us was, well, we don't want to do that. We want to see where it might make sense for us to build out, and then, you know, we'll make decisions about where we'll build out and where we won't build out. So again, it's just a complete unknown. What we do know, and you know, what they told us was that they had put in pole applications in East Longmeadow. They got make-ready costs, determined that it was not feasible, and they withdrew all their pole applications. And now East Longmeadow, you know, gets to just move ahead with their town-owned fiber. When the Municipal Fiber Task Force met with GoNet Speed had told us that they put in pole applications in Longmeadow about 4 or 5 years ago, looked at the make-ready costs, and decided to pull out. They did the same thing in Agawam as well. There is no town in Western Mass where a third party has come in and completely built out a town. And so what is, you know, and the Springfield City Council, I think I talked about this, you know, during the January 5th meeting too. The Springfield City Council had this long discussion last summer too, because, you know, with these companies, there's really nothing you can do to block them from coming in. You know, these poles are owned by third parties. It's kind of between those third parties and whichever third party is coming in. And, you know, what the Springfield City Council said was the same thing that the Municipal Fiber Task Force said, is that, you know, you're kind of putting the town in a really, really bad spot if you're allowing some company to come in and build out just the profitable areas of town, because then no one else is going to come in and build out the less profitable or unprofitable areas. So then you're just going to be kind of out of luck. And we've seen this happen in, you know, East Hampton and Northampton and Ludlow and everywhere. So, so, you know, that part it's frustrating because there's nothing that you can kind of hold them to, or there's, you know, they can tell you one thing, but they don't have to do it. And so, you know, I think that really the only way to kind of go about this is the same way that that East Longmeadow went about it. It's the same way that West Springfield went about it, because they had the same issue too with GoNet Speed, and GoNet Speed ended up withdrawing their applications. It's just for the town to decide whether we want town-owned fiber or not, and to vote on that. Because if we decide we don't want town-owned fiber, there's really nothing else for the town to do. I mean, it's just kind of the Wild West, like utility companies and will build out maybe, or they maybe won't, but there's no really role for the town after that. So, so yeah, so Fiber Spring is also, you know, they have sent a letter to Eversource about, you know, their delay here, and they've requested that Eversource process our poll applications at the same time, or even before this other entity, because, you know, they might be in violation of some regulations for not processing them in a timely manner. But, you know, that's something that needs to play out, and that's something that Eversource needs to move on. But so make-ready costs, like I said, we don't have the exact number for it, but Fiber Spring was conservative in their estimate for the financial model. So, you know, I feel comfortable going with what, you know, they provided as their estimate for that.
All right, thank you, Vineet. I had a question for the finance office. Is it possible, I know there's a number of scenarios here and some different moving targets. Is it possible to do a projected payment impact like we did for the middle school?
Estimated tax impact?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's possible.
You think that would be useful?
Oh, yeah, I think that, yeah, I think that would really kind of, I think, put into perspective, you know, what would really help folks understand what the tax impact is here, because I think people keep seeing this $27 million number as the project cost, but of course, that's not what the cost of the project is going to be for our taxpayers. So I think that would really help. Yeah.
Is it possible to do, like, this is requiring a lot of speculation, obviously, at different take rates? I don't know
I'm
if
sure
that
you
makes
can
it.
do- you have to do that.
Yeah,
It's too
I mean,
complicated, yeah.
we'd have to do that if we
Yes,
want
no
to
way to
give an
show it.
accurate projection, but
Well, I mean, you could do it worst case, like.
Sure,
Worst case
yeah.
scenario, I guess, is we borrow money and then nothing ever happens. But
Vineeth shared the numbers, actually, so thank you, Vineeth, that was very informative. A few comments I have. So we know now it has to be a 20-year loan, and basically, to me, the number that matters to the town, because it's a complicated situation, it's not 27 million, obviously, it's less than that. And before, when FiberStream came, it was a 30-year loan, it was gonna be like, if I recall, 1.5 to 4 million, depending on the take rate. And I came to this meeting wondering what it was gonna be now. Vineeth basically shared it with us. It goes to like 3.3 to 8.7. And so really, Ian, you would just know what, if we borrowed 3.3 million, what would the, average town owner change their property tax, et cetera. So that will be very helpful. I think it would be helpful to explain, if you think it's relevant, Vineeth, or maybe Lynn, what MWIC is. I think 99% of the people watching, and those not watching, have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't know until today. If you don't think it's relevant or want to save it, that's one thing, but I thought, as you were discussing that, I'm thinking people don't know what you're referring to. Another question, will we not have make-ready costs by the town meeting, do you think? Or is that possible still?
So, so I don't think that we'll have make-ready costs by town
Okay.
meeting. Yeah, I don't think.
And I
that
understand you're
at
saying
this
that
point,
the
it's
proposal was
not.
conservative, but
Yeah.
that's important. And then, just so I understand, I'm sure others have the same question, are you saying that this gateway company got their poll applications in before us, so we have to wait? And that's kind of why we're just waiting, and we can't get this stuff ahead of
Right,
time?
so, yeah, so Eversource, the way that they handle it is whoever comes with pull applications first. So we don't know if, how many pull applications Gateway Fiber put in, or
But how long
where.
are they able to, is there a period of time after which they say there's no action, they're not doing anything, now it's your turn?
That's what we're saying, because we're saying
Okay.
Eversource should have done something with these. They've just been sitting on them. They didn't even realize that they didn't even get payment from them.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly frustrating. So we're trying to make the argument that, we've waited. This is frustrating the town's ability to make decisions, and they should move along forward with this, and and process our applications and give us the make-ready costs. Like I said, this is just incredibly frustrating with the way that Eversource handled this. As for MWIC,
Yeah.
MWIC is on the town warrant, and there's a little explanation associated with that. And I don't know, Ian used to work for MWIC, I think, so he might be able to explain.
We can save it for the
this-
warrant too.
This
When we go
better,
through
but
that.
yeah, but basically it was created, I believe, in the 1970s. It's a public corporation that's just was created to allow municipal light plants in Massachusetts to get better rates for funding, to make funding more efficient, to provide better resources to communities. And so part of it is they have a whole team of folks that work on this. And so, it puts less of a burden administratively on the town. MWIC does a lot of that work. And then also they have a pool loan program, which they will, I guess the idea is that they pool with other MLPs to get favorable rates. And so there's really no downside to joining. We can decide whether we want to utilize it or not after we join. Interestingly, I think if we vote in May, we would be the first MLP to join that's that does not have its own electric light plant. So we'd be the first fiber-only MLP to join. And so they told us, they're basically they're excited about this because this is they're going to look into different ways that they can be helpful, because they don't assume that we're going to be the only one. I think East Long Meadow is also considering joining as well, and I'm sure there's going to be more soon. So there are a lot of things that potential opportunities, I think. And Ian, I know that you were in on that meeting, and I know that's for you too, in kind of providing this debt schedule. I think part of the reason why you did that was because I think you were also aware that potential MWIC opportunities could, give us a lot of, different favorable borrowing options.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Well, since we're talking about it now, my feeling is generally like we should obviously, all of us want to do as much as possible to give as much information to our town at the town meeting. And I think that we will have some numbers, but we won't have certain things like make-ready costs. I'm worried that it's already kind of not ideal that we don't have the specific numbers, but I was just a little worried, as somebody who literally just crammed on what MWIC was today, that it's a little complicating things a little bit. Like people at town meeting, they're not going to know what it is. They're going to come and see that it's the article that I saw was positioned before the fiber article, and someone's going to have to explain to them, this is a thing we could do. There's no cost to do it, but it might be a way, and we're kind of doing this as an alternate way of possibly getting a loan, which would be based on the collateral is not your property taxes, but it's your electricity rates, which I think is a lot to unpack when you're already there to talk about fiber. Why are we talking about this, So I wondered if it was something we could just do that after, like if the town approves fiber, then do this later and then that would give us the option, instead of like muddying the waters so much. That's just was my impression after a day of even considering this.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think we could flip those articles, and it's almost like, why
then it becomes a very relevant conversation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think, you're completely right in that, some of this, a lot of this is, and if you look at other warrant articles for other towns that have done this, the level of specificity is not near the level ours is at. And I think because a lot of these towns understand that, the finance director, the MLP, that they're going to be managing the take rates and everything as this project goes, as these borrowings happen, and be making these decisions where they're, leveraging different ways to funds. But I think that, to say that this $3.3 to $8.7 million, that range is like the worst case scenario, I think it's kind of like, the best way to present it,
Mm-hmm.
Is say like, okay, this is what we project. We could possibly do better if we get better, borrowing terms and have options through MWIC, but like, this is what we should expect.
What my worry, and I wonder if it's possible to get FiberStream to come in here to give us an updated proposal. So if you think about like worst case scenarios, a situation where it's a 20-year loan, and then let's say they come and they said, okay, just throw out the proposal we sent you before, we gave you before with 30 years. Now the subscriber rate's going to be, I don't know, $110. And then my concern would be, well, now that's going to not be as affordable or not necessarily cheaper or a lot cheaper than Comcast. And then you might have this negative spiral where it's not working because people aren't subscribing, and then the take rate's low. And then, so that's why I wonder maybe if they would be willing to come at an April meeting to kind of, just so when we go to town meeting, we can tell people, okay, it'll cost the town maybe between 3.3 to 8.7, and that'll be this amount on everyone's average tax bill, but this is what the subscriber rate will be, and everyone make your own decision based on your own situation. I think that would be good if we could accomplish that.
So this 3.3 to 8.7 is based on a $90.
Oh, it is?
Per month.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
So
helpful.
like nothing has changed
I see.
from there.
That's the only
Yeah,
variable that's
Yeah,
changed.
from there, it's just changing the amortization
Okay.
period, yeah. So, if we wanted it
Well,
to
you could
go
change it.
lower, we could make
Yes.
this, the MLP, could decide.
Right,
or,
that's up to
Could do
the
that.
board.
I think the way that we presented it, or, FiberStream presented it was $90, because it just seemed like a manageable number that would get people to, buy in, and, but, it's up to us.
How much is it in South Hadley now?
South Hadley, I
It's like
believe,
75.
is 75, but, that's kind of the difference, is that the places where they have their own electric and light plants, they own all their poles. So places like Westfield or South Hadley, they have prices around $75 because they didn't have to do any of the you know, the yearly poll fees and all of those things. And so we're more in line with where East Long Meadow is. So East Long Meadow is saying that theirs is going to be between, you know, $80 to $90 because they are, you know, more similar situated to us. Yeah. Yeah, a lot to, you know, I just went over a lot, but so yeah, you know, feel free. Obviously, anyone can, you know, ask any questions. Happy to answer them. I think we're going to be coming out with more stuff to, you know, educate the public about this. Fiber Spring has developed marketing materials, and so I think at maybe at our next meeting, we can put that on the agenda to take a look at it and approve. And so they've developed like mailings and social media posts and everything like that. So and possibly like, you know, social media videos as well, to really just educate folks about this, you know, project. But you know, what I will say too is that because this is new to Long Meadow, you know, this is something that, you know, I think 28 towns in Western Central Mass have done already. So, you know, while it may seem risky and all that to us, you know, this is something that's it's a tried and true model, and it's worked over and over again. So, and I think that's going to be important to kind of educate folks too about that. About, you know, this is not something to necessarily be that scared of. You know, the risk I don't think is as high as maybe people initially feel like it might be.
Beneath, just one quick question, and thanks for putting all this together, and I appreciate it. I think just it's all about the take rate, right? I mean, so in terms of rolling this out, I mean, do you foresee gaps, a period of time where, you know, 1 year, 2 year, where we're stuck at 30, 40% take rate just because of the infrastructure or the polls, and we don't, and we're in a standstill? Or are they ensuring Fiber Spring that we're going to be able to start just moving to different neighborhoods and really rolling this out more quickly to help with the take rate?
Yes. So yeah, I think you're completely right. It's really just all about the take rate here, and I think the initial pilot area that Fiber Spring identified is neighborhoods that are surrounding the shops, because the fiber hub will be, you know, next to where the tower is. And what they identified were just closely or, you know, densely populated areas that were just all poles. So I think with that first pilot area, I think they would be able to connect around 1,600 homes to get this going. You know, South Hadley, 5 years into their build out, they are at 55% take rate. You know, a lot of this is word of mouth. You know, we've been talking, you know, in the summer about getting a website for folks to express their interest in fiber, so that they get, you know, reached out to when it becomes available in their neighborhood. We did receive some feedback from South Hadley themselves and from some other communities, that in communities where they put that kind of website out before it's actually available, it kind of caused confusion, because people were like, oh, I thought this was a done deal. I thought, you know, we already had this. And then it just ended up causing more confusion and frustration. So that's what we did. So the website is ready, but we decided to, you know, kind of hold off on publicizing it until, you know, if this passes. But I think, you know, that'll be just kind of a connection, you know, a marketing point if this passes, to say, hey, you know, this is the website, it's ready, you know, sign up, and, you know, you might be connected as soon as next year, because the first homes would be, you know, possibly be connected next year if this passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vinny. Did you memorize all of it?
Oh, man, it's been a lot of work for a few years, so. Yeah,
Thank you. We appreciate you
it.
continually keeping us updated and having good information for us.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, moving on to new business, we have public shade tree hearing, decision appeal. I'd like to approach. Thank you very much for waiting. Appreciate your patience.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Wellner. I'm the tree warden and conservation agent for the town. So just a little bit of background. As you guys already previously mentioned at one point, the DOT tip project is coming through. That's going to take place Western Drive, Long Meadow Street, and Forest Glen. So within that project plans, they were submitted to me and the Springfield tree warden. Springfield had to do a hearing as well as Long Meadow. The only removal proposed by DOT is the initial pin oak as you enter Long Meadow Street, coming off of the 91 South. The second pin oak just beyond it, I highly recommended that DOT include that in their hearing. It is one that is incredibly likely to take equal damage as the original pin oak. So they moved forward, they understood my evaluation there. So DOT submitted a request for a tree hearing. That tree hearing was held Thursday, March 12th. And I had received a few objections prior to that meeting, as well as at that meeting. Plenty of thoughtful questions from the residents who did attend. There were some questions about the availability to redirect the street center line in order to take more on the other side's tree belts. Unfortunately, DOT did mention that if that were the case, the street coming off of 91 off of the highway and onto Route 5 would be more of a curved street. Keeping that and maintaining that straight laneway is definitely a more favorable setup for something coming off of such a highly trafficked area. So what I did in my review, these plans were presented to me. They were not, they were at 100% not for my ability to really have any push about changing the plans. So instead of reviewing them under that scope, I reviewed them under the lens of if these trees were to remain, what impacts would exist after the fact. So one of the other good questions that were asked was, could we maintain the trees, keep them there, and see what happens after construction and how they react? Especially oaks, they're gonna still look totally fine for a couple of years with some slow decline, but their main issue is where excavation is going to take place about 2 to 3 feet from that tree's trunk and directly into that critical root zone. The tree is going to act as a hinge, so you get one wind event and the tree is just going to very likely to hinge over, and that would head towards the direction of the house and the sidewalk. So for those reasons, between grading, heavy excavation, heavy compaction, the trees will die over time, or if not, become subject to wind throw. So that is why the town is back requesting an appeal for the removals that were objected to on the 12th.
Thank you very much. And Andrew pulled up the Google Maps. And
is this the tree we're talking about?
There are two, so.
There's one on the tree belt, is there another?
There are two on the tree belt, so if yes,
There's-
you were
okay.
at 32 Long Meadow Street there, the
So it's
first
this
two
guy?
trees, yes.
And then it's to the left?
The first
Yeah, if
two
you
within the
turn-
tree belt, so
It's
that
hard
one
to-
directly, I think, in the center of your screen is the first one.
These two? What did you say?
So.
There's a pole, there's a
Over
pole in
here,
between both of
it's
them.
These two? So
I'm sorry.
the first two on the tree belt.
Yes, the first two on the tree belt. My contacts are good, but not that good.
So, yeah, I looked at this, I drive by it every day, but these are, and I absolutely appreciate what you do and what you said in this, that you are trying to, within your means, do what you can to protect the trees. And I absolutely agree that this is the entrance to our town. These are some of the first trees that people see, and we are a tree city. But there are lots of trees behind. This is just trees on the tree belt. Not to diminish what they are, they're beautiful trees. But I'm getting some work done on my house, and we had an arborist out, and he was explaining things to us and protecting the trees. And when you work this close, unfortunately, I always defer to you, of course, on your knowledge, but I would not want to be in a position where these trees have been weakened and something happens where somebody gets hurt or property damage, better case scenario. But we don't want that. And we've had a lot of tree hearings, unfortunately, where we have looked at trees that may look fine to us, but to a trained eye, they're not. And that's something that we have to worry about. And so, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. But I appreciate the thought that you put into this and that you talk to residents and are doing what you can to protect the tree, but this is something that, this is a street project that's being done for the betterment of our town and to make traffic better and make our streets safer. We have to continue with that with the trees. Andrew?
Can you comment a little bit more on the risk that you believe there would be if we left these trees, which are gorgeous, I think we all agree, to see, like, you basically made it sound pretty definitive that they would collapse eventually, and we deal with this a lot in medicine, where it's like, oh, you know, there's no definites, and a lot of times people are asked, like, what are the odds? I can totally understand if I lived near this tree, I'd probably be one of those people who objected and said, let's just try. Like, what's the worst that can happen? The chance, it's not gonna fall on my house. The chance, any tree could fall over. This is just me speaking as a third person. Like, any tree could fall over at any time in any windstorm, you know? Like, these are very majestic trees, and it would be quite a shame, actually, to let them go, and I'm not. And so I'm looking for more of to educate us about, like, when you say it could hinge and fall over, I'm sure that's true, but is it also possible that it might survive?
Okay, that is a really good question, and I also would like to mention that, of course, I don't want to remove the trees either. You know, I love them. Oaks are very tough for me to put out for removal, so just reviewing it more under that realistic lens, that arborist lens, is what I had to go into when reviewing these trees. So part of the training I did in 2024, I had I received my TRAC, so that's a tree risk assessment qualification. So in that training and through that exam, I worked closely with ISA arborists. They walked us through different ways to evaluate tree risk. There's a couple of matrices you compare. So there's likelihood of failure, likelihood or impact of failure, and at the end you come up with your risk rating. So when I looked at this, and I would like to say DOT did hire an arborist to do a full arborist report of the trees along the construction pathway. That arborist did come up with both of these trees having high impacts from construction. One of the things that I really focus on in terms of the root system is those two trees that specifically have historically been poorly mulched, so they do have 2 mulch volcanoes on them. I would be a bit anxious, of course you don't know without digging into the tree and the trunk to really know, but I'd be anxious that there is some beginning of trunk rot or root rot at the base of those roots, right at the where they enter the ground, because of that almost suffocation of the mulch really being up on the tree itself. Tree roots also only grow about 12 to 18 inches below the surface for the most part, so any kind of excavation, you know, there's oftentimes that thought that there's a taproot that kind of just holds it down and holds a tree anchored in the ground. There is one when they're very little, and then once it starts, the root system starts to develop, the taproot kicks out to the side and expands in conjunction with the other structural roots. So that tree in itself already having an improper mulching system, you know, a tough grade, and would experience an additional grade change to meet the tree belt with the proposed roadway. Any kind of construction impacts from that compaction over that root system, getting rid of those macropores, getting rid of the air in the area, all of that combined, can I definitively say the tree will fall over? No. Is it a risk beyond an acceptable level that I would be comfortable with? I would say yes. I did also have the Springfield tree warden. We just walked it together, the both of us. He's also ISA certified. I myself am ISA certified. And we all kind of came to the general conclusion that unfortunately the trees, or the construction impact, is going to well exceed the risk that's acceptable.
I think just to go on that, if you had said, I think the trees could have a chance, I would defer to that, I think. So that was a great question, but
is the road going to be widened there, or is it going to be? Okay. It's not just going to be improved, and it's going to be the boundaries are the same. It's actually be closer to the tree.
Correct.
2 lanes there.
You're putting 2 lanes there going south.
Yeah, and a bike path.
and so the tree belt will be significantly less.
I think partly we can't really get an idea of is the elevation change until you're out there to look to see
Yeah.
just how much we're digging, how close that tree.
I see.
And to go a little beyond, if we leave the tree in an area where there was less targets, it'd be a little bit maybe easier to do, but that's the busiest road in town. So you're gonna hinge that tree and put it in a way that's gonna fall towards the road. So the road's gonna be much further closer to that new curve.
Is the tree belt, would you say, like gonna be half the width that it is now?
I bet
Half
to
the
show you the
depth?
plans, it's gonna be pretty close to, at least there, and then
So it's
gonna
literally
get-
going right up to the tree.
And then it's gonna narrow, so you're gonna have 2 lanes to get through the lights and then narrow. Into one, merge into one, sorry.
And also, my street had the microburst a couple of years ago, and it was, really, I was not at home, and I got home and I said, wow, I dodged a bullet there. We don't want, and I see my neighbor, who was.
Didn't dodge the bullet.
Didn't dodge the bullet, I think it hit your garage, right? Yeah, so, yeah, and thankfully nobody got hurt, but we really got lucky. But that does remind me, is this something that the tree committee has discussed as
Yeah,
well?
so I don't know if there's any tree committee members online. There's Bill Seafeld behind me, who's a tree committee member, and Lou Cornett was at the hearing on the 12th. He just couldn't be here today. All in a general understanding, there were certainly some similar tough questions that I heard at the hearing, have heard here tonight. Is there any way around it? But there was the general understanding that, unfortunately, if this is what it's got to be. We never want to remove trees. We always want to replace, so.
So the tree committee was in favor of removal as well, okay, thanks.
We had multiple public hearings about this. It's been a 7-ish year process, so everyone's had a lot of notice, and DOT does everything possible to make sure that there's not issues at the end, of, like, they would stop construction, so everyone had a chance to talk, and we did do everything possible to design the road to limit the impact to the trees all through there. This was the least invasive way to design the road to meet the DOT standards.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it again. And what are our options for action, Lynn? I don't remember what we can do here. We are denying or we can deny the objection? Is that right?
You can overturn,
Oh.
yes. So for select boards, you guys can overturn the hearing of the tree warden. So if you were to vote tonight and to do that, it would take effect immediately. In cities like Springfield had the same issue. Their mayor is allowed to do it under Mass General Law, Chapter 87. Here in Longmeadow, it would be you guys making a vote.
So what is our vote? Sorry.
To overturn the decision made on the 12th.
Okay. Oh, because there was an objection.
Correct.
Okay, which means we have to have a hearing. Got it. I forgot my Mass General laws. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to overturn the hearing result for the 2 pin oak trees located at 32 Longmeadow Street.
So moved.
Second.
All right, anything further? And
Shelley Maynard DeWolf?
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Renita Nomedy?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Levine?
yes, with regrets. All right, thank you very much again. We appreciate you coming in and your patience. All right, 9:30, draft warrant. Let's go.
Can handle it any way you want. I can speed through and I'll keep going unless I hear questions or.
I think if it's something that is par for the course, you can just say that.
Jump right ahead.
and- Yeah.
Okay, so I will jump all the way to Article 3, just the free cash for snow and ice. This is what we have estimated as invoices have come in. We don't anticipate to go any further, and as you heard from Sean earlier, there's a little bit of a buffer in that number.
Just to bring us back or we kind of glossed over it, but the Ty and Bond study on having flat funding for snow and ice, do you recall that?
I don't, but we budget the minimum amount required.
And I don't remember what they were advocating for. Does anybody remember that?
No.
It was, obviously I don't remember, but it was something flat, like always having the same amount no matter what,
We always do 125.
but we're always wrong.
So, Mass General Law allows what are called legal deficits. Snow and ice is one of those, where towns, as long as they set either equal to or greater than the prior year's appropriation for snow and ice, are allowed to deficit spend. The article that is in front of you is the way to make whole that deficit.
I'm not saying it's wrong, I just wonder if it's the best
Are you wondering why we're
practice.
trying to be more accurate every year? Because
Yeah,
we're always over. I think
becau-
it's because of this rule that if you increased it, then you'd have to keep it that way.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and I understand that, but if next year we do 150 and
We'll
it's
probably spend that,
600, no, if it's more and we don't have the free cash to do it.
So the other option would be, if it's not paid through free cash, you can raise it on the tax recap.
Okay.
So those are the two options available.
So there's never gonna be a hole, it's just a matter of how we do it.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're doing anything wrong, I just wonder, it was recommended to us, we should look into it. I don't remember what the recommendation was, but if there's a better way to do it, we should at least look into it.
I mean, I think you make a good point. It could be more accurate and a more prudent way to do it, to actually try to get a little closer to the actual snow budget. I mean, you could probably give us I'm not asking for this, but you could give us each year for the last 10 years how much under the actual cost we were. I'm sure it was significantly under every single year, not even, even the lighter years. But
We have had years where it was pretty close.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
have
Last
that
few,
in
actually.
the financial forecast.
Well, then keep it where it's at then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this year was crazy, obviously,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
last year, we had a bunch of small storms so it was also weird, but you just don't know.
Right.
Yeah, all right. Well, just food for thought.
Yep, and if we do increase that number up from that 125, it cuts into that whole budget conversation we're having on
That's the other
where are we
side.
pulling it?
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with that. Maybe we are flat, I don't know. And so just, I don't know, go back and
Yeah,
look at that meeting.
yep.
All right, thank you.
Article 4 is free cash funding for the Revolution 250 events.
The budget is still 10,000. We just put in a 2,000, just in case of surprise. Yeah. I didn't object to that.
I think it's great we're doing this, so,
Thanks.
yeah.
5 is another free cash article. This is for both fence repairs and playground maintenance, so total 70,000. Article 6 is the borrowing for center school. This is an authorization, language is provided by MSBA, or I should say, approved by them. This is to fund the borrowing for the roof. Article 7 is the town joining MWIC. There's 2 draft languages in there. We can choose which one we would like, the longer version or the shorter version, with the explanation that was prepared.
Can I ask a question? So do we feel like it would be okay to move this to after the next article, which seems to make sense? Because I'm a little concerned, this is gonna be a confusing, long discussion that is only really relevant if the next article passes. Is that not,
I
do you
mean,
think that's not accurate?
I suppose it could be, I mean, it doesn't matter to me where it goes. You
Yeah.
guys can tell me what you want.
I think swapping at the very least is a good idea.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Article 8 is the borrowing authorization for the municipal fiber project. All right, 9 is the budget. 10 is the capital plan with the different funding sources called out there. As you'll see under funds from the Treasury, we've changed it to Russell Field and High School Practice Field Design. That is the 2 field locations that will bear the brunt of Williams being offline.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yep, the Russell, under the capital article, funds available from the treasury. We've retitled that Williams Field one to Russell Field and High School Practice Field Design, because those are the two locations that are going to bear the burden of Williams being offline.
Gotcha.
I meant to ask this when we were looking at the capital plan. Why is the fire alarm panel at the library so expensive?
That's what they cost.
Really?
Yeah. Between electricity upgrades, or the electricity connections with it, and then wiring it up.
That's like that panel that shows the different zones and,
Yep.
wow, okay.
Lynn, we're past the free cash articles. Do you feel like you have enough? Do you need us to explicitly tell you about adding 50,000 for OPEB, or?
Yes.
You want, okay.
We would have to pull it from something.
Yeah, or deplete down to 16,000 left in a free cash balance. There's 76 remaining.
Oh, but, I thought you had 75 towards, the L project.
That's like a lingering, I don't know what is that?
We didn't fund that, I don't.
No,
I'm sure
you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, it's because the bottom line you sent us had $1,600.
Yeah, we didn't fund that. It was, I think DPW's a little worried about cushion on some of the L project work, and not having enough buffer, but I have not heard from them again about that, so.
Okay.
But it seemed from our prior conversations that we could take like 10 from a few other, like 5 other places. that
If you
had
want
it.
to, yeah, you just have to tell me what you want to do so we can add it in.
So there's 75 grand right now, though.
Yeah,
That is either, that we could use for this, or it could be a buffer, or it is a buffer for snow, but we
Yes.
feel pretty good about that. Okay. So we need to, but we'll have to tell you at the next meeting.
yeah, I mean, if you want me to add an OPEB article, I would prefer to do it now.
Oh.
I don't necessarily need the dollar amount, but we have to, like, add it in.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Yep.
50? Everyone good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and just pull it from, I don't know, Andrew said.
A little bit from every
There's
source.
75 grand.
Into your
in cash
discretion.
Still.
Pull it from the
Okay.
select board salary.
So if you're looking for some recommendations, what I would likely do is, I'll pull probably 20 or 30 from the fence, and another 10 or 15 from the playground, if not a little bit more, because there is 5 grand in the operating budget. I'll come up with
Whatever you think is best,
50,
yeah.
so that it's not an impact.
And do you still think, you think we should keep the 75 cushion on the free cash?
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever we don't use rolls to next year's
Yeah,
free cash.
and so then if it really was free cash, we can put it towards OPEB then.
Yeah, and I'll likely drop the Russell Field down a little bit, because between that and the cell tower money, I think we're gonna be okay.
Okay.
And that is spread over multiple years too, it's not just one season.
Good idea, thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, actually, there was something in the fiber article that I just wanted to highlight really fast. In the last sentence of the explanation, it talks about the MLP board paying the town back to cover the expenses of the pole applications and design and engineering. So when this article was at the, I think it was the 2024 fall special town meeting, the explanation for the article said that the town would pay back, or the MLP would pay back the town for these expenses at the first debt borrowing, which, I don't know if it ever actually, I can't recall why that was put in there that way. It never really made sense to borrow an extra $491,000 that our town, like taxpayers, would be on the hook for, to just pay the town back. And so none of that was binding, because that was not actually part of the motion. It was just part of the explanation in the article. So I think, we should change that and offer an explanation that says that this will be paid back. I think it's worded in a financially responsible manner that does not overburden Long Meadow taxpayers. I think a couple of different options for that. Right now in Fibers, in the financial models, we have set aside $50,000 for an MLP manager compensation yearly, which I don't think that we need. And so, that could be a place where that's already in the financial models. Instead, we could say that $50,000 goes back, the MLP will pay the town that $50,000 over the course of 10 years, each year until it hits that 491. Or, the MLP board can say, once this becomes cash flow positive or something, then they'll pay the town back that amount. But I think that's important to kind of explain to our residents, because I don't really see the value in us borrowing an extra $491 to just push that, as part on our taxpayers as part of the debt exclusion.
Right. Article 11 is the transfer of the operating stabilization fund interest into the capital stabilization fund. This is one that was started last year. Article 12, I do need a little bit of consensus on. So this is also a capital article, but it would be funding the stormwater capacity study and catch basin repair, which are two capital items, through the use of retained earnings in the stormwater fund. The reason that I need your attention on this one is it will drop us below the stormwater policy 500,000. We've done it before for most of our water sewer projects we've gone below, but I did want to call this out because if you do approve this, we would be below the policy for a little bit.
Yeah, what is it dropping us to?
So we are currently at 683,878 in the enterprise fund retained
So
earnings.
this would get us to like 4?
It'd
Or
be-
a little bit less, sorry.
It would be,
3.
it would be like,
280 or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
like 300,000. It would
Okay.
cut it in half essentially.
And then, what would the rate we just set, when would that, or what's the outlook for getting us back to our policy?
It depends. I mean, the way the stormwater is built, we built like a balanced budget, so unless there's turnbacks or additional revenues generated, it would be, quite some time before we see the stormwater retained earnings come back to that level. It's not as rapid as the water or sewer would be.
Okay. Well, we could set the rate to raise it, to get there a little quicker.
Yep.
And these are both, this is a study and a repair, or,
Catch basin repairs, which really should be in the operating budget,
Yeah.
but,
okay. And then it's a study for a future project?
yep.
Okay. Which we always hear is good to have in the hopper, so. Okay, I think we should, I'm fine with it. I think we should, with the idea that, let's take a look at the stormwater going forward and have a plan on that and how to keep it up, because if it takes a long time and if the projects that come out of there are this expensive, as they all are, we should have an eye towards building it up quicker so we can have money available when we need it.
Okay. 13 is our standard district improvement financing article. 14 is, this one, yeah, I'll let you do this one.
Yeah, so 14 is the ambulance capital account. What that is previously the ambulance revenues would go into an ambulance fund. The DOR has said that the ambulance fund, as it previously was not allowed. So we had to close out all the excess funds to free cash. This would create a capital account similar to how we have the fire truck fund, where the select board could allocate free cash that comes from ambulance revenues into this capital account, funding future ambulances. Because right now, what will happen is any excess revenues from ambulance would close to free cash instead of closing to the ambulance fund. So Chief Rigney has asked me to designate going forward any amounts associated with this, as he would like to see them stay within the ambulance fund.
Okay.
I'll let you do 15 and
Sure.
16.
So 15 and 16. So if you recall from our discussions from water sewer, I had talked about capital closeouts related to prior borrowing authorizations. DOR allows municipalities to close out funds from prior borrowing authorizations to use towards equal or longer term borrowings. Articles 15 relate to prior borrowings that would close out and go towards the water mains project upcoming, and Article 16 would go towards the slip lining project.
Keep going.
So Article 17, so going back to fire, so this article would rescind Article 13 from our 2023 annual town meeting. When we originally authorized the fire truck, it had to come with a borrowing authorization in order for us to get the contract in place for the fire truck. Because we now have the funds available with the most recent capital funding, we will need to rescind the borrowing in order for us to pay for the fire truck.
Okay. 18 and 19 are our standard revolving funds. They are reauthorized with a spending threshold or a cap of the revolving fund amount. So it's the adult center and the athletic field signage. And then 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 are all community preservation articles. All right. 26 is a cleanup sorry, let me get my notes on this just because I'm jumping ahead faster than I was prepared. Okay. 26 is to give authorization to the Historical Commission to administer the bylaw. In the description, you'll see the original intent of the bylaw is proposed in 2006, but was amended on the floor of town meeting and passed to create a standalone building demolition committee. The committee's current structure calls for 4 at-large members and 1 representative from both historical and historic district. The committee's business fluctuates based on infrequency of buildings that meet the definition, and the committee does not have active membership, and they struggle to find people. The Historical Commission, however, is active, and they have discussed having the capacity to take on the authority originally assigned to that group. Okay.
And can I just ask a question that we passed on this 2 CPCs?
Yeah.
One, I was glad that the CPC money to improve like the pool amenities. That's, I think, a great use of that. But then one question I had on this Bliss Park Clay Courts renewal project, $71,000 for the project. You know how they came up with that number? Like, is it something we're hiring someone to do?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yep.
And that's how much it costs to like
Yes,
pool,
there's-
like
they
survey
get
the
quotes.
public and.
Yes.
And they give us, have a plan,
Yes,
right? Like
I
they
believe
did-
so.
Like did for the other courts or the other fields. So, yeah, I'm looking forward.
Oh, it's
to
more
it.
than just those 4 tennis courts?
No,
Like-
I'm sorry, they did, the presentation we had 2 years ago.
Oh,
or so,
same
But they
group.
looked at all the fields and said.
Same group, you mean?
I don't know if it's the same group,
It's
but
not,
same
right.
idea. So they'll do a survey, this is what I
Okay.
imagine.
Have like
do
a
it-
hearing or something?
Do a survey, to have public input,
Great.
whatever, and then say, here's some options, and then we can go from there.
Thanks.
Okay. 27, amendment to the Historic District Commission bylaw. It removes the consecutive terms provision in the bylaw right now. So right now, if you serve more than 2 consecutive, you're not allowed to serve more than 2 consecutive terms. This has been proposed by the commission to keep some continuity in their operations. They've struggled to fill vacancies, and they've had people who've wanted to stay on have to step off because of that.
Why was that in there?
I don't know, but it's been in there for a while.
The one
We'd have to
over
go back to the creation of it to figure
there.
out.
Okay.
Article 28 is one that you may remember from the fall town meeting, the snow shoveling bylaw. We have spent a lot of time internally working on this and reviewing, the data that's come in. We've clarified snow and ice occurrence in the definition section, clarified how the fine schedule works. We've added the Chapter 85-6 of the Mass General Law that allows us to assess the cost of snow removal and ice on sidewalks. And we've clarified how code enforcement will educate prior to enforcing fines with the exception of repeat offenders. I will also have a full complement of the building department staff and code enforcement at the meeting to address some very specific questions that might come up. And 29 is an article that has been requested by the Long Meadow Police Department. They will be at the meeting April 6th if we need them to be to answer specific questions when you vote on articles for the warrant. They've had ongoing discussions both locally and nationally on this topic. They've been, keyed into what other communities have happening. And most recently, the town of South Hadley added a similar bylaw last fall. This again comes from Chief Stocks and Detective Barry. There are several concerns regarding the presence of these cryptocurrency machines, including their potential to facilitate unregulated financial transactions and their frequent use in fraudulent schemes that target vulnerable residents. By implementing this ban, it will provide better protection to the community from these risks and ensure local regulations reflect our commitment to public safety and financial security. And this is just something that LPD hopes we consider putting on the warrant. And Article 30 is an amendment to the zoning bylaws sign regulations. Chapter 315 was amended in 2024 to clarify language and remove redundancies between this chapter in relation to Chapter 242, which is the billboards and advertising in the general bylaws. With the occasional request to place commercial messaging or logos on commercial properties, the intent of this amendment is to clarify that commercial messages or symbols are not permitted to be placed on warning or directional signs.
Is that a hearing on this already?
It might be tomorrow night. I'm sorry, it might be on the 31st. But if it hasn't happened yet, they have multiple meetings scheduled. I think it's April 15th.
Okay.
Okay, and that brings us to hopefully the end. Oh, no, citizen petitions, but those aren't ones I can really speak to.
Well, nothing we can do about them anyway.
Right. Okay.
And then Lynn, could you just remind us of the schedule for this? So do we have to close the warrant at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
April 6th, then Finance Committee votes on their recommendations. We insert those into the warrant. It gets a final run-through by 3 of us, and then it gets sent to the printer. And it gets distributed, I want to say, around April 23rd.
Just as a note, Finance Committee is intending to be at the April 6th meeting, and they will meet after the joint meeting to vote for the articles, so they'll take care of that evening.
Great, thank you.
Lynn, I just had one question, because I know we talked a little bit about the fields and with the Williams. Is this maybe an opportunity for us to look at Bay Path and trying to see if we can leverage some of their fields? I know parking is kind of an issue, but, I mean, we no longer have the pilot in place, right? And I'm just wondering if that might be an opportunity for us to help during this growing stage of the school.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Has that ever been asked of them before?
I've heard that, yes, there's been conversation years ago about that.
Okay.
Worth looking into.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. So, sounds like we're all set on the warrant. We want to move on to seasonal liquor license renewal.
Pretty straightforward. It's your only seasonal license, Clubhouse Cafe, and all is in order.
Dan, didn't you ask something about Franconia?
Lynn is like, don't bring it up.
He did. Dan did. It was a really great question,
Yeah,
and I wish I had a good answer. Just to remind people, the question was, where do they pay their meals tax?
Well, now, then I started thinking as well for water sewer as well. I mean.
Yeah, they probably have a big pipe going to them. The fixed
So,
rate must be gigantic.
I am just.
That's easier for us to find. Yeah, that's very
I
straightforward.
mean, if we find another one of those large pipes again, quarterly 40.
Shame.
was it-
$1,100 right now.
That was yearly.
Yeah.
4,400.
But, yeah, so anyways, yeah, I mean, I think there's more to come on that, but, well, no, on the,
Dan, don't throw us at a good time.
Yeah.
no, on the receipts for,
Yeah, just to close the loop on it, DOR will not divulge who pays meals tax and where they pay it.
Really?
so I keep going back to Lynn, I'm like, how is this possible? How can they say there's really no paper trail? I don't understand.
We get a lump sum check, so they won't.
It goes to our treasurer.
That's
I called DOR and I asked if I can verify myself as a government official in order to make sure that it's confidential information, and they would not provide it to me.
Wow.
Mhm.
So.
Well,
And I engaged
We need
Representative
the state
Ash's
rep?
office.
Oh, great.
Yep,
I,
and they were not able to get the information either.
I'm sorry I asked.
No, it's a great question, and we didn't want to know how much. We just wanted confirmation if they're, straddling multiple municipalities, like, where
Yeah.
are they paying that?
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of it someday.
That'd be great.
All right.
So you just need to vote on that liquor license
All right,
renewal.
I will move to approve Clubhouse Cafe LLC Franconia's all alcohol seasonal license.
Second.
Peggy?
Shelley Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Anita Maltby?
Yes.
Yes.
Josh Lewin.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got opiate litigation still, right?
Yes. I didn't close up my computer. I'm anticipating a easy vote on this. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the town manager to sign 6 remnant defendants' participation forms.
Second.
Lynn, you sent the, I don't think this is necessarily public knowledge, so
Right.
we've received information on it. We're not going to discuss it, but it has been, everyone has reviewed it.
Wait, so moved, right?
Yep.
Roll call?
So
Yep.
moved.
Second.
You second? All
Oh,
right.
yeah, no, we got that, I think. Go ahead, Peggy.
Shelley Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Anita Maltby?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Lewin.
Yes. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Go ahead.
Shelley Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Dan Zwerko?
Yes.
Anita Maltby?
Yes.
Andrew Lamb?
Yes.
Josh Lewin.
Yes. Hope you feel better, Shelley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.